Chapter 459. The weapons all went silent. What do you mean? The small white bird silently asked the Earth Sword. I don't really understand either, the Earth Sword replied. The forgetting river soul separating hook spoke very seriously. We're weapons after all, there are some things we can't understand in human terms, please explain, Gu Qing Shan answered. Everything was caused by the demons, so we need to think of a way to kill the demons first, the small white bird asked. Kill the demons? Then what about the Devil King of the 18 layers of hell? We need to take things one step at a time, don't worry about the Devil King for now. The entire Huang Quan world is filled with demons and soul-devouring arachnids. How confident are you? Gu Qing Shan answered. I'm not confident at all, but sometimes we need to do it first. Tell me, what do you need to do? I might need the weapon manifested from the law of the Grand Tai Wei Mountain. Can it stop the 7-colored spear? It was heavily wounded, so it might not be able to stop the next one. I don't need it to do too much. The key to this part is that we need to find it. The forgetting river soul separating hook spoke. That's easy. Us 66 ancient weapons are the complete embodiment of the law of Huang Quan. As long as 7 to 8 weapons sense it at the same time, we'll be able to find it, Gu Qing Shan said. Seems like we'll need to return to the divine armament worshipping temple. The soul-devouring arachnid was lying on top of the worshipping temple. Since it was found, it didn't want to hide anymore. The soul-devouring arachnid showed itself without hiding, staring at the forgetting river. Just now I was fooled. As a soul-devouring arachnid, this was an unprecedented humiliation. If that human dares to appear again. While it was thinking, it suddenly sensed something. The soul-devouring arachnid suddenly straightened its body and looked towards the forgetting river. Roar! The soul-devouring arachnid roared in anger. That human really did appear again. As Gu Qing Shan stood on top of the forgetting river, the waves around him avoided him. He was looking at the soul-devouring arachnid, and the soul-devouring arachnid was also looking at him. The distance between them was only enough for them to see each other clearly. Only at this distance could Gu Qing Shan feel assured. A sword appeared next to Gu Qing Shan. The Earth Sword. Gu Qing Shan transmitted her voice to him. 1%. Got it, the Earth Sword replied. A stream of light flashed. The Earth Sword flew straight towards the soul-devouring arachnid's chest, piercing through its heart. Dang! The soul-devouring arachnid spider suddenly reached out with its hand and knocked the Earth Sword away. The Earth Sword once again descended, slashing at the soul-devouring arachnid. The soul-devouring arachnid waved its hand again. Dang! The Earth Sword was sent flying again. The soul-devouring demon spider sensed that there was not even the slightest mark on its skin. Human, you are too weak. This is not even enough to tickle me, the arachnid soul-devouring spider mocked. Gu Qing Shan did not say a word. The Earth Sword came again. The soul-devouring arachnid blocked again. The Earth Sword was knocked away again, but quickly returned. This time, the soul-devouring arachnid lost its patience. Idiot, what use is this harmless attack against me? He roared. But Gu Qing Shan didn't care about what the soul-devouring arachnid was thinking, only controlling the Earth Sword to try and slash it again and again. The soul-devouring arachnid blocked a few hundred more times, then suddenly stopped. When the Earth Sword struck him, it couldn't even scratch his skin. Gu Qing Shan suddenly switched to the War God title, UG General. Attack speed increased by 15%. 1 strike, 2 strikes, 3 strikes, 7 strikes. Gu Qing Shan's body sank below the waterline, shouting, "Full power!" The Earth Sword let out an intense vibrating noise. Secret art, a 7 stars flowing dragon. An unprecedented giant lightning dragon appeared. This was the first time Gu Qing Shan used this secret art ever since she became an Ascended Realm middle stage cultivator. The lightning dragon caught the soul-devouring arachnid in its mouth and flew away from the top of the divine temple. The power of the lightning made the soul-devouring arachnid very uncomfortable. Scram! The soul-devouring arachnid angrily roared. It grabbed the lightning dragon's horns and pulled it apart. The entire thunder dragon turned into lightning snakes that scattered in all directions and vanished in a puff of smoke. The soul-devouring arachnid landed. It found itself standing next to the forgetting river. In an instant, the soul-devouring arachnid felt an inner sight enveloping it. The other party dared to release their inner sight in front of it. It was overjoyed, wanting to use its thaumaturgy to bind its inner sight to the other party. But it was too late. Gu Qingshan had been harassing it for so long, even using the lightning dragon to draw the soul-devouring arachnid's attention, all for this split second of opportunity. In the blink of an eye, everything changed. Gu Qingshan suddenly appeared where the soul-devouring arachnid was. The human-faced arachnid appeared in the middle of the forgetting river. Divine skill, shadow shift. Everything that Gu Qingshan did before was to avoid the other party's inner sight, giving her the chance to release her inner sight to envelop the other party and use shadow shift. The human-faced arachnid was struggling in the forgetting river. No. What's going on? It screamed in fear. Its voice stopped. The soul-devouring arachnid sank. Almost 2 breaths worth of time later, its corpse floated up again. The soul-devouring arachnid's corpse floated, quickly being carried away by the current of the forgetting river. No one knew where its corpse would be carried away by the current. But one thing was certain. Its soul was no longer in this world. Gu Qingshan stood on the bank and smiled. Unfortunately, a line of glowing text appeared on the war god Ui. As the one who truly killed the soul-devouring arachnid was the forgetting river, the user cannot obtain soul points. Gu Qingshan sighed regretfully. The forgetting river soul-separating hook flew up and cheered. Well done! The bone-thin white bird also flew up and intimately circled around Gu Qingshan twice. They entered the divine armament temple of worship and began to awaken the sleeping weapons. In fact, since the Great Tribulation had arrived, many of the weapons had already woken up. The 36 weapons that flew up before were no exception. Gu Qingshan walked in front of the weapons and used the Spirit Awakening incantation on each of them. The rest of the weapons woke up one by one to meet Gu Qingshan. This humble one is Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan clasped her fist. This humble one is Soul Breaker Blade. This humble one is Soul Breaker Bow. This humble one is Flame Soul Searing Spear. This humble one is 100 Wraith Life Binding Lock. The weapons all spoke at once. The weapons have scattered to hell to help in the fight for the Devil King. The fight for the Devil King is about to fail. With the forgetting river soul separating hook helping Gu Qingshan, the weapons quickly became familiar with Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan counted 11 weapons. That's enough. Now, I can go find the weapon manifested from the Tai Wei mountain. It's the only weapon that can stop the 7-colored spear. I can only hope that its wounds aren't too severe. It's the most important part of the plan. While Gu Qingshan was thinking, the sky suddenly lit up. In the dim sky, the 36 weapons had finally completed the Huang Quan Great Ceiling formation. The formation slowly descended from the sky. The 7-colored spear seemed to have sensed this change and suddenly let out a colorful light. The colorful light shot straight to the sky, clashing against the dim yellow light in the sky. The colorful light was gradually slowed down. The entire Huang Quan Great Ceiling formation was also shaking. Right away, both sides fell into a stalemate. On the other side, a few soul-devouring arachnids led an endless horde of demons across the hill, heading straight for the holy temple. A unique soul-devouring arachnid died. This was a huge commotion for the demons, and they were immediately alarmed. Hurry, use the method you used just now to deal with them, the small white bird excitedly said. Gu Qingshan shook her head. We don't have much time, we can't stay here any longer, we need to do what we need to do. Come, I'll bring you to the Forgetting River. Inside the Forgetting River. While sensing their location, the weapons brought Gu Qingshan forward. About an hour later, at the bottom of the Forgetting River, the ground was covered in gray-white rocks. This place was very far away from the Grand Tai Wei Mountain, very close to the dark tunnel. All of a sudden, the weapons stopped. The 6 paths great mountain sword should be around here, the small white bird said. The sword? Gu Qingshan instinctively thought of something. The weapons looked around. There was nothing in the murky river. Could it be underground? The forgetting river soul separating hook asked. The weapons tried, but none of them could break through the rocks. The bottom of the forgetting river is also a part of the Grand Tai Wei Mountain. No one can break through, a large blade spoke with a hoarse voice. How about we search around here a bit more, Gu Qingshan suggested. And so, the weapons followed Gu Qingshan and searched for another hour. Not good, there's still nothing. This is truly strange. A shield said. Maybe it's unconscious, so it can't show up to meet us, the small white bird said. If it was unconscious, then no matter how much they searched, it wouldn't show up. If that's the case, there's no other way, a bow regretfully said. We have to find it, it's the manifestation of the Grand Tai Wei Mountain's laws, only it can stop the 7-colored spear and complete our plan, Gu Qingshan insisted. That's true, last time it faced the 7-colored spear, it also managed to stop it for a while before it was sent flying, a scepter said. At the time, it was already heavily wounded, the shield said. It's so strong, the blade praised. I don't dare to stop that spear, a spear muttered. Impressive. That's right, among the 3 divine armaments, it's the only one that dares to face the 7-colored spear head on, the weapons all praised. Everyone, please try again, it's very important, it'll decide the success or failure of our plan, Gu Qingshan sincerely said. Since you killed a soul-devouring arachnid, we'll try again, the scepter said. The weapons all nodded. Very quickly, all the weapons began to give off a faint yellow light. This kind of light connected together and flickered incessantly, carrying with it a kind of strange rhythm. A few moments later, the light slowly faded away. It's definitely nearby, but it won't respond to our calls, the forgetting river soul separating hook said. Seems like there's no other way, the shield sighed. It's definitely heavily wounded, it can't even respond to us, the spear said. What now, it can't even show itself, I'm worried about it, the small white bird said. The weapons all regretfully said. Gu Qingshan sighed and could only stay silent. Can't find it? Without this weapon, his plan won't be able to proceed. Is everything already over? In the past life, during the countless catastrophes, he was the one who survived until the very last moment of humanity. He was the commander of the war, a sword saint. After his rebirth, no matter what time it was, even if the 4 hells came to the human realm, he still didn't give up on finding a solution. But after coming to Huangquan, the dead of the 18 layers of hell were about to welcome the Devil King. The Devil King will bring hell to destroy the human realm. The demons took over the entirety of Huangquan. Even divinities weren't a match for the 7-colored spear, dying one after another. And Gu Qingshan was only an ascended realm cultivator. At a time like this, he couldn't find any useful helpers. He finally felt a bit of despair. At this time, the forgetting river soul separating hook suddenly asked, I say, why don't you try it? Me? Try what? Gu Qingshan was surprised. He was a bit confused. Isn't it obvious? The forgetting river soul separating hook replied. The small white bird hurriedly said, Sir Soul separating hook, it didn't reveal its identity to this human reinforcement if you say it now. Don't worry about such things at a time like this, the forgetting river soul separating hook casually said. The other weapons also nodded. Just try it, you have its presence on you, it should be able to sense it, the shield reminded him. Gu Qingshan looked at the weapons and froze. Presence? That blue presence. He suddenly realized. Wait a minute, the 6 paths great mountain sword you mentioned, doesn't its spirit have a name, Shanu? Yes, that's her, the shield replied. The 6 paths great mountain sword, the forgetting river soul separating hook, the Devil King Warden Rod, These are the 3 divine armaments of our Huang Quan world, another blade added. Gu Qingshan closed his eyes and sighed. It turns out that the blue-robed maid was the 6 Paths Great Mountain Sword's weapon spirit. No wonder I had a natural feeling towards her, but it wasn't romantic love. No wonder I gave her 3 supreme treasures. So she was a sword. A sword. Chapter 460. With a single thought, Gu Qingshan took the blue smoke out from his body. As he held the blue smoke, he could feel a chill coming from it. No wonder, isn't this just cold sword chi? He silently sighed. A sword spirit appeared in front of me, but as a sword saint, I couldn't recognize it at all. How shameful would it be if I told others about this? But this wasn't entirely Gu Qingshan's fault. This was also the first time he met a weapon spirit that could take human form. And a particularly cold and beautiful woman at that. Gu Qingshan slowly infused his inner sight into the blue smoke. The blue smoke moved, as if it was sensing something. All of a sudden, a female voice came from within the smoke. I see you. Gu Qingshan was glad and said, Please come out and meet us. Wait a bit, I'm at a crucial point in my recovery. I'll be done soon. Yes, Gu Qingshan replied. No wonder she didn't show herself, she was busy healing her wounds. If that's the case, the 3 treasures she asked for before can also be used to help the weapon spirit recover faster. Everything makes sense now. Gu Qingshan then relayed Shanu's words to the weapons. What? Her wounds are so heavy, how could she heal so quickly? The small white bird was shocked. Her laws came from the Grand Tai Wei Mountain, perhaps she was born with a natural ability to heal faster, the shield muses. Gu Qingshan couldn't help but ask, how did she get hurt? The weapons all shook their heads. Everyone looked at the forgetting river soul separating hook. That's strange, during that period of time, the entirety of Huang Quan was sealed off. I don't know either, the forgetting river soul separating hook answered. Gu Qingshan and the 7 weapons silently waited. A few moments later, through the faint yellow water of the forgetting river, an intense light seemed to be flickering in the sky. There seems to be something strange in the sky. The bone-rending hellspawn blade was a bit uneasy. Let's go take a look, Gu Qingshan said. He brought the weapons out of the water and looked around for any abnormalities. In the direction of the Grand Tai Wei Mountain, there was an unusual fluctuation. Looking into the distance from the River of Forgetfulness, one could see that the sky was dotted with bright stars. 36 light spots formed a mysterious pattern. They were connected by spiritual light and shrouded the peak of the Grand Tai Wei Mountain. This is the Netherworld Demon Trapping Formation. They really succeeded in setting it up. The small white bird said joyfully. That's not it. They've fallen into a stalemate with the 7-colored spear. They've started to wrestle with each other, the forgetting river soul separating hook said worriedly. Suddenly, a cold female voice sounded. They can only temporarily trap the 7-colored spear. Once they are exhausted, the formation will be broken by the spear. A blinding green light appeared on the surface of the forgetting river. The ball of light dispersed slightly, revealing an ancient lady. She wore an azure dress and had a lithe figure. She had vermilion lips, a jade-like face, and a phoenix-like appearance. Her expression carried a hint of indistinct coldness. The 6 Paths Great Mountain Sword, Weapon Spirit, Shanu. The weapons all respectfully greeted her. Greetings, Shanu. The azure-clothed woman nodded slightly. The forgetting river soul separating hook flew up and let the azure-clothed woman hold it. I'll tell you everything that's happened recently, the hook said. The azure-clothed woman held the forgetting river soul separating hook and closed her eyes. A few moments later, the forgetting river soul separating hook told her everything. The azure-clothed woman quickly opened her eyes. She looked at Gu Qingshan with a smile on her cold face. After the Demon Lord, you've killed another soul-devouring arachnid. How surprising. It's nothing, Gu Qingshan replied. The azure-clothed woman curtsied and continued. I still haven't thanked you for the treasure from before. I've finally fully recovered. I didn't think you'd be a divine weapon manifested from the laws of the Grand Tai Wei Mountain, Gu Qing Shan sighed. That's right, I'm the Six Paths Great Mountain Sword. I came to find you this time because I need your power to save Huang Quan and the human realm. What? The weapons all exclaimed in shock. Although the Six Paths Great Mountain Sword is powerful, it definitely doesn't have the power to save two worlds. Otherwise, the demons wouldn't even dare to invade. The azure-clothed woman's expression became a bit gloomy as she spoke. There's nothing I can do, I can only block the seven-colored spear's attacks. Any more won't hurt me, but I'll be sent flying. There's no need to block it too many times. According to my plan, we'll definitely be able to save the world of Huang Quan. Gu Qing Shan's tone was filled with unprecedented decisiveness. The azure-clothed woman scowled. She couldn't help but speak. The entire Huang Quan, the divinities, the countless weapons, none of them could deal with the seven-colored spear. To win against the divinities of Huang Quan, the demons also lost over 100 near-invincible demon lords just to use that seven-colored spear. How will you be able to go past it to save Huang Quan? If it weren't for the fact that you've saved me and killed a demon lord, I would have thought that you were just bluffing. Saying so, her tone became cold. Gu Qing Shan smiled. He continued. The seven-colored spear is truly unparalleled in power. Throughout the entire war, none of the demons' strategies were wrong, until the very end. The very end? What do you mean? The soul-separating hook couldn't help but interrupt. They shouldn't have left the seven-colored spear on the Grand Tai Wei Mountain. The demons did that to suppress Huang Quan, don't you understand? The azure-clothed woman glanced at him and spoke. She continued. With such absolute power to suppress Huang Quan, even the heaven realm wouldn't dare to send any divinities down. With such power, even the heaven realm wouldn't be a match for it. Don't you understand that? Gu Qing Shan continued her words. The demons didn't do everything right, they also made a few mistakes. I can use these mistakes to change the course of the war. The azure-clothed woman lowered her gaze. You? Without the Forgetting River, you wouldn't even be able to deal with a single demon lord. Gu Qing Shan continued. If you're willing to help me, we can change the entire war. This is also our only chance. Chance? That's right, give me a chance, and give yourself a chance. Let us change the current state of this world. The azure-clothed woman didn't say anything else. She looked at the flickering light in the sky. The light slowly dimmed. 36 Huang Quan weapons let out intermittent cries of pain. They couldn't hold on much longer. The azure-clothed woman's eyes showed a bit of sorrow. She lightly swung her hand. At the bottom of the Forgetting River, the indestructible gray-white rocks began to break apart. A nimble and graceful long sword flew out of it. This sword was a bit narrow, but longer than normal swords. The blade of the sword gave off a faint cold gleam, extremely sharp, but also as clear as the water of autumn, giving it a different kind of beauty. The sword went through the Forgetting River, flew up to the surface and hovered next to the azure-clothed woman. The azure-clothed woman grabbed the sword with her hand. Seeing this, Gu Qing Shan was stunned. The sword spirit was holding the sword. Could it be, she can use swords like a sword cultivator? While Gu Qing Shan was thinking, the azure-clothed woman spoke up. I know you're a sword cultivator, so I'm afraid you're lying to me. Lie? That's right, if I let you use me and you somehow manage to take me away from Huang Quan, then you'll have me, and Huang Quan will continue to fall into destruction. The azure-clothed woman turned around and looked at Gu Qing Shan. She continued. Please prove that you wanted to use me to save the world of Huang Quan. How do I prove that? Please bet your life on it. Swear to save Huang Quan and return everything to normal. Otherwise you'll die and your soul will fall into hell, never to return. The weapons had been listening until now, but finally couldn't hold it in any longer. Shanu, there's no need to do that. The vow made in Huang Quan will definitely come true. The Forgetting River soul-flaying hook was the first to speak up. That's right, no matter what, he did do quite a bit, the small white bird agreed. I think Shanu's worry is correct, the shield commented. Without a vow, what if this human takes the sword and runs away? another spear asked. But this vow is too cruel, the meteor hammer sighed. They were all talking at once. The azure-clothed woman swung her sword. The weapons all went silent. The forgetting river was silent, only the sound of the wind could be heard. Do you dare to swear the vow just now? The azure-clothed woman stared at Gu Qingshan and coldly asked. Gu Qingshan went silent. Chapter 461. In front of the weapons, Gu Qingshan made a vow. I will bet my life to save the world of Huang Quan, otherwise, even if I die, my soul will fall into hell. An invisible wind drifted around Gu Qingshan's body for a long time without dispersing. Heaven and earth could sense it. The vow had been made. Seeing this, Shanu's expression was a bit complicated. What exactly are you doing this for? For Huang Quan? Or for the human realm? Or perhaps it was a moment of impulsiveness, believing yourself to be the savior of the world, so you bet your life on it? She asked in confusion. I've already made the vow, Gu Qingshan answered. Shanu froze. Gu Qingshan continued. From the moment I arrived in Huang Quan, I've already bet my life on it, swearing to change everything. He looked at the boundless river. The water flowed without a sound. The bottle of wine and the demon lord's corpse had already disappeared without a trace. Don't worry, I'll win, he muttered. The weapons were all confused, not knowing who he was talking to. Shanu thought for a bit and said, Very well, since I've made the vow, I'll cooperate with you to the best of my ability. Her body turned into a mass of white mist and went into the 6 paths great mountain sword. The sword lightly rotated so that the tip was facing downwards, hovering in front of Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan held the sword. Lines of glowing text quickly appeared on the war god UI. You've obtained the temporary right to use the 6 paths great mountain sword, 6 paths great mountain sword, worshipped by the world, divine armament of Huang Quan path. This sword's attribute is unknown. Seemingly knowing what Gu Qingshan wanted to ask, more notifications appeared on the UI. The sword has not recognized you as its master, so you cannot obtain the sword's detailed attributes. According to the analysis of our intelligence, this sword has at least one thaumaturgy. Invincible. All powers and powers of the 10 worlds are unable to destroy this sword. Gu Qingshan was a bit surprised and couldn't help but ask through inner sight. Why is it invincible? She was clearly severely injured before. That was the weapon spirit's wound, the sword itself wasn't. If the weapon spirit is damaged, the sword will not be able to move by itself, but it can still be used by others. Even if the sword's artifact spirit perishes, the sword itself will still exist, but it will lose all of its abilities. The system replied. Got it, so that's what eternal means, Gu Qingshan said. He swung his sword and thought to himself, it doesn't matter if I can't see the other attributes. As long as I have the immortal attribute, it can block the 7-colored spear for me. At this point, the forgetting river soul separating hook spoke. Now that you've allied, what should we do now? Gu Qingshan said, We're going to the entrance to hell right now. I remember that hell is hidden under the Grand Tai Wei mountain, at the bottom of the forgetting river, right? Yes, the forgetting river soul separating hook answered. Let's go. He flew along the bottom of the forgetfulness river. Gu Qingshan found a cave hidden at the bottom of the river near the Grand Tai Wei mountain. This place was under the river all year round, so they had to dive into it to find the underwater passage to hell. Gu Qingshan brought the weapons, went through the 10-mile-long underwater cave, and entered the belly of the Grand Tai Wei mountain. Inside the belly of the mountain was an empty space without any water. A giant cave about 100 meters tall appeared in front of Gu Qingshan. This was the entrance to hell. Gu Qingshan observed the cave. A layer of black light covered the entire entrance. When he approached the entrance of the cave, an irresistible repulsive force pushed him back. Only the dead can enter, even if you're a soul, you can't enter hell, the forgetting river soul separating hook answered. Gu Qingshan nodded and asked, That means the demons can't do anything to hell, right? That's right. At this point, the blue dress girl's voice came from the sword. What do you intend to do? The first step, slay the demons, Gu Qing Shan answered. The Grand Taiwei Mountain. At the top of the mountain, the seven-colored spear was sealed by the golden talisman, but it still emitted a beautiful seven-colored spear shadow. The shadow went straight to the sky. In the sky, the 36 Huangquan weapons all gave off a blinding light. All the light connected to form a demon-trapping formation, trying to block the shadow of the spear. The formation and the spear met. The light and darkness were extinguished countless times. The 36 weapons all cried out at the same time. They couldn't hold on much longer. The standoff was coming to an end. The weapons were about to be destroyed by the seven-colored spear. All of a sudden, the entire Forgetting River gave off a faint yellow light. The light quickly rose to the sky, finally arriving in the middle of the 36 Huangquan weapons. A long hook appeared. All of you stand down, the Forgetting River soul separating hook said. But if we stand down, no one will be able to deal with it, one of the weapons said. All of you stand down, if you want to stay alive, there will be others to deal with the spear. The Forgetting River soul separating hook said. As one of the three divine armaments of Huangquan, its words were of course trusted by the weapons. The 36 Huangquan weapons immediately retreated. They continued to maintain the formation as they slowly flew into the distance. They really didn't want to deactivate the formation right away. If they did, the seven-colored spear would probably kill them immediately. After the weapons retreated, the seven-colored spear also regained its silence. On another mountain slope, the countless demons and demon lords watching were laughing in a frenzy. They were laughing, howling, and swinging their limbs to express their victory. Other than the mountain where the seven-colored spear was, every other place had been taken over by the demons. Not counting hell, they've already taken over this world. At this time, a figure flew up from the Forgetting River. Gu Qing Shan. Holding the Six Paths Great Mountain sword in hand, he was flying straight towards the top of the mountain. He was flying straight towards the seven-colored spear. On the other side, the demons were once again in an uproar. They were staring closely at this, wanting to see the scene of the seven-colored spear reaping lives. Gu Qing Shan followed the empty slope of the mountain and headed straight up. The seven-colored spear seemed to be too lazy to pay attention to her, not reacting for a while. It wasn't until Gu Qing Shan was halfway there. A phantom spear shot out from the seven-colored spear, slashing towards Gu Qing Shan. This phantom spear was about a few hundred meters long, and in a flash, it had already reached Gu Qing Shan. Death was approaching. In the blink of an eye, Gu Qing Shan would be killed by the phantom spear. But Gu Qing Shan's expression didn't change as she sidestepped and disappeared in front of the phantom spear. Divine skill, ground shrink. Gu Qing Shan changed his direction, went past the phantom spear, and continued to fly towards the top of the mountain. While flying, he used ground shrink again. The long distance was shortened in an instant. He was about to reach the top of the mountain. The seven-colored spear was surprised by how easily and quickly he got there. It unleashed 3 phantom spears in a row, all aiming at Gu Qing Shan. Even the 36 Huangquan weapons didn't get to enjoy such treatment. The 3 phantom spears connected one after another, completely enveloping the entire mountain. Gu Qing Shan's inner sight locked onto the final phantom spear. Divine skill, shadow shift. In the blink of an eye, he switched places with the final phantom spear. Gu Qing Shan arrived at the top of the mountain. It's time to see who's the real deal. Gu Qing Shan's figure moved and approached the seven-colored spear. Instantly, the seven-colored spear glowed brightly. It was about to unleash a few more phantom spears. Gu Qing Shan attacked first. The Six Paths Great Mountain Sword swung out a sword phantom. The seven-colored spear hurriedly unleashed a phantom spear that shattered the sword phantom. At the very next moment, a second phantom spear, a third phantom spear, A fourth phantom spear. A fifth phantom spear. The 7 colored phantoms came one after another. At this most dangerous moment, Gu Qingshan couldn't even activate his divine skill in time, so he could only withdraw the 6 paths great mountain sword and block in front of himself. At the same time, in front of Gu Qingshan, the 7 colored spear. A sword phantom suddenly appeared from the other side of its body. Secret art, a swallow returns. When a sword cultivator attacks with their sword, a similar sword will attack from behind. Perfect timing. The sword phantom flew past the 7 colored spear. The sword phantom gently flicked the shaft of the spear. The golden talisman was flicked away. The 7 colored spear stopped for a bit, obviously surprised. At this moment, the 7 colored spear didn't unleash another phantom spear to attack Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan swung the 6 paths great mountain sword to block the first few phantom spears. Clang! An ear-splitting sound of impact resounded across the sky. The 6 paths great mountain sword stopped the 7 colored spear. This was the power of invincible. This sword was the source of Gu Qingshan's survival. Borrowing the power of the phantom spears, Gu Qingshan retreated in the blink of an eye. An unparalleled force enveloped him, pushing him towards the forgetting river like a meteor. The forgetting river parted and took him in. He didn't stop for even a second, heading straight for the entrance to hell. With the 6 paths great mountain sword in hand, after several turns, Gu Qingshan fell into the entrance to hell. He landed on the ground, breathing heavily. The 7 colored spear was powerful enough to slay demons and gods. If he made even the slightest mistake, he would die on the spot. The entire battle just now seemed very simple, but in reality, every single part of it was the culmination of all of Gu Qingshan's battle experience and skills. This was the most intense battle he's ever fought. Now that he was finally able to relax, Gu Qingshan felt a bit tired. The weapons surrounded him. Together with the 36 weapons that retreated before, the weapon's strength had increased again. The blue dress girl also appeared and was about to ask a few questions. Why did he do that just now? Before she could ask, the forgetting river soul separating hook suddenly became excited. Look! The forgetting river soul separating hook shouted. Everyone, connect to me, something terrible is happening outside. The forgetting river soul separating hook's voice sounded a bit frenzied. The weapons immediately connected to the forgetting river soul separating hook. Gu Qingshan also put her hand on the forgetting river soul separating hook. The situation outside appeared in their inner sight. On top of the mountain, without the golden talisman to suppress the 7 colored spear, the situation had completely changed. When Gu Qingshan left, the 7 colored spear didn't even bother to pay attention to him. It sent out phantom images of the 7 colored spear to cut the golden talisman that was floating in the air to pieces. Even that wasn't enough. Millions of phantom spears flew out from the spear, cutting the area where the golden talisman was for a whole 5 breaths worth of time. It wasn't until the golden talisman was completely destroyed that the 7 colored spear let out a joyful woo-woo sound. A second later, millions of phantom images flew out from the spear, covering the entire world of Huang Quan. Huang Quan is done for. Shanu looked at Gu Qingshan and said. Keep watching, Gu Qingshan said. Look, the forgetting river soul separating hook also urged her. Shanu continued to infuse her inner sight into the forgetting river soul separating hook. The demons originally took over the entire Grand Tai Wei Mountain, but didn't dare to approach the 7 colored spear. But now that the golden talisman was gone, the 7 colored spear's power was fully unleashed. Everywhere in the world, the 7 colored spear's phantom images were everywhere. As soon as the phantom images passed through a mountain, all the demons on the mountain were killed. Unable to resist at all, millions of demons were killed by the 7 colored spear. Blood flowed down from the Grand Tai Wei Mountain like a flood, flowing straight into the forgetting river. Only a few powerful demon lords were screaming and running, trying to escape with their lives. But in Huang Quan, besides the Grand Tai Wei Mountain, there was only the Forgetting River and Hell. Demon lords couldn't enter Hell at all. Entering the Forgetting River also meant death. The strongest few demon gods joined forces and formed a world-shaking, peerless array in an attempt to resist the Rainbow Spear. But it was useless. This kind of resistance only attracted even more phantom images of the seven-colored spear. Hundreds and thousands of spear shadows erupted with a storm-like attack. After a few breaths' worth of time, the giant demon lords all fell to the ground. They were the strongest demon lords, originally going to rule over the world of Huang Quan, or even the human realm. But now they were nothing more than ants, killed on the spot by the seven-colored spear's indiscriminate attack. 10 breaths. In just 10 breaths' worth of time, all the demons and even the demon lords were dead. Chapter 462. This is an unsolvable problem. With the seven-colored spear sealing off the Grand Tai Wei Mountain, no power in Huang Quan would dare to appear on the surface. The small white bird spoke in despair. The Forgetting River soul-separating hook excitedly spoke. Although we'll lose land for a short period of time, all the demons that took over Huang Quan are dead. This is a very good deal, Gu Qingshan smiled. That's right, all the divinities of Huang Quan are dead anyways, we're actually profiting from this, Shanu smiled and said. There's another good thing about this, from now on, the Heaven Realm won't dare to send any reinforcements, and the demons won't dare to come to Huang Quan. She looked at Gu Qingshan and lightly curtsied. I'm sorry, I misunderstood you, I didn't think you'd find the right solution and personally deal with the seven-colored spear. It's fine, Gu Qingshan quickly replied. He sat on the ground for a while before regaining his composure. What do we do now? Shanu asked. Gu Qingshan stood up and spoke. With the seven-colored spear standing guard, no demons will be able to enter Huang Quan for now. This way we can peacefully deal with the problem of Hell. He looked at the Grotto of Hell. A thick layer of black light covered the entrance of the grotto. All 18 layers of Hell were inside. The Forgetting River soul-separating hook sighed. I really have to say, this was a very good move of yours, but Hell is already beyond redemption. Gu Qingshan's heart tightened and quickly asked, why? Of the 18 layers of Hell, 17 of them have already produced their strongest, only the Blood River Hell is still fighting for the final spot. Once the strongest appears in the Blood River Hell, the Devil King Warden Rod will immediately set up a barrier to trap the 18 dead inside and fight to the death. The last living dead will become the Devil King, commanding all 18 layers of Hell. They will directly leave Huang Quan and head to the human realm. The weapons all listened without saying anything. Shanu turned to Gu Qingshan and spoke hopefully. When the 18 layers of Hell leave the world of Huang Quan, the world of Huang Quan will slowly collapse. The only way to do that is to see if the human realm can destroy them all in a short amount of time. Only then will Hell return to Huang Quan. With a bitter smile, Gu Qingshan said, the human world can't even withstand a single layer of Hell, let alone 18 layers of Hell. Shanu froze. If that was the case, there was no other way. Gu Qingshan said, the reason why I came to Hell was firstly to avoid the attack of the seven-colored spear, and secondly to attack Hell. Shanu looked around. All of Huang Quan's weapons were gathered here. She asked, you want all of us to attack and kill the dead who are fighting for the title of the strongest? The Forgetting River soul-separating hook answered, it's useless now that the Devil King power struggle is about to begin. Even if we kill all the dead, the scepter will still choose the last to die as the strongest dead of the Blood Sea prison. In other words, nothing could be changed. The weapons silently sighed. Who said you were going to kill the dead? Gu Qingshan shook his head. I'll be the one to go next, you? Shanu opened her eyes wide in disbelief. You want to participate in the Devil King power struggle? That's right, Gu Qingshan cracked her neck a bit and replied. You're dreaming, you're a living soul. The Devil King Warden Rod won't recognize you, Shanu said. Gu Qingshan then asked the small white bird, of the 7 leaders, who is in the Blood Sea Hell? No one, they all belong to the other hells, the small white bird answered. Then, you don't need to kill the dead anymore, just capture a human dead for me, I have a use for it, and do it quickly. Before, Gu Qingshan dared to fight against the seven-colored spear by herself, so she already had a bit of prestige among the weapons. At this moment, as soon as she said that, the weapons all moved. They all flew into the tunnel of hell and entered the first layer of hell, the Blood Sea Hell. Inside the Blood Sea Hell, suddenly, dozens of weapons that gave off the aura of Huang Quan all appeared. They locked onto a young dead human and swarmed around it, holding it in place. You! What are you doing? The dead human screamed in fear. He was only a normal dead, so he never thought he would need so much trouble to kidnap so many ancient weapons of Huang Quan. Don't waste time, come with us! The small white bird shouted. The young dead human was dragged out of the Blood Sea Hell by the weapons, on the empty field in front of the tunnel of hell. Gu Qingshan cut off his arm and consoled him. Don't be afraid, you're actually saving the world. Are you alright? The young dead human asked with cold sweat. He didn't faint from the pain. Seems like after going through so much torture in hell, the dead's endurance had also increased. I'm fine, go ahead, Gu Qingshan said. The young dead human screamed and rushed towards the gate of hell. He didn't want to encounter such a thing ever again. Thank you, I think you'll get some merit. Gu Qingshan loudly called out from behind him. Hearing that, the young dead human abruptly stopped. He muttered, "Merit calculator." A glowing number appeared above his head. 0012. It was a positive number. If the merit points were positive, it meant that all the sins were over. From this moment on, he would no longer have to suffer the pain of hell and could reincarnate. The young dead human was stunned for a bit, then started cheering in joy. After that, he seemed to recall something and ran back to Gu Qingshan. What's the matter? Gu Qingshan was surprised. The young dead human's eyes were full of desire. I still have an arm, can you give me a bit more merit? Gu Qingshan was speechless. Send him away, the weapons all rushed forward, grabbing the dead human and leaving. Gu Qingshan shook her head, took the arm and flew away, activating, Mystery of all beings equal. A few lines of glowing text quickly scrolled past the war god UI. Analyzing the mystery of the dead human's composition, please pay 1,000 soul points to understand the law of the dead human's existence and temporarily become the same existence as the dead human. After reading through that, Gu Qingshan checked her soul points. Turning into a sharp bone demon took 1,000 soul points, making the Chao Yin sword refine the forgetting river water took 1,000 soul points, and using, even a sea of bitterness will pass. Inside the forgetting river, she only had 101 soul points left. Remaining soul points, this is the last chance to activate, Mystery of all beings equal. Gu Qingshan had no choice but to activate it. Very quickly, using Mystery of all beings equal, he turned into a dead human. This body shape is about the same as mine. Gu Qingshan moved her body a bit and muttered, this is the second step. The dove takes over the magpie's nest. The weapons were all stunned. He turned into a dead human. He turned into a dead human. The small white bird cried. Why are you crying? Shanu asked in confusion. He died, the small white bird said. That's not it. He used a profound mystery of the world to change the very essence of his own body. The forgetting river soul flaying hook clicked her tongue in wonder. Gu Qingshan didn't say anything. He sensed a strange calling. After a bit of silence, Gu Qingshan understood what this calling was trying to convey. This was the Devil King Warden Rod mobilizing the strongest of the 18 layers of hell to participate in the Devil King contest. Gu Qingshan's heart that was hanging in midair relaxed a bit. Seems like the Devil King Warden Rod has recognized my identity as a dead human. There's still hope. Gu Qingshan's body moved, about to fly towards the underground hell. Wait! Shanna called out to him. What is it? I need to hurry. The Blood River Hell is the only place left for me to compete for, Gu Qing Shan doubtfully asked. In the Devil King contest, you can easily die if you're not careful, are you confident? Shanu asked. Gu Qing Shan smiled. The human realm has existed for so many tens of thousands of years, there are already 4 eras of civilization, not to mention the existence of the samsara world. I actually want to see if there are any strong opponents. Shanu's expression was a bit complicated as she curtsied. I misunderstood you before, I didn't think you would be able to come up with such a method. But there's a problem that you definitely don't know about. Gu Qing Shan stopped and seriously asked. What problem? You're a sword cultivator, that's right, where's your sword? Gu Qing Shan's mind moved. The Earth Sword and Chao Yin Sword appeared in the air. In front of so many Huang Quan weapons, the two of them proudly circled around Gu Qing Shan. What a good sword! That sword looks quite good! TSK TSK, the weapons all cheered. The Forgetting River Soul Flaying Hook sighed. Shanu also shook her head. Gu Qing Shan was surprised. What's the matter? The Forgetting River Soul Flaying Hook answered. All dead people belong to hell, Shanu explained. Dead people have to find materials in hell to forge their own weapons and participate in battle, only then will they be recognized by the laws of Huang Quan and the Devil King Warden Rod. If you use a weapon outside of hell to fight, you'll be disqualified, the Forgetting River Soul Flaying Hook continued. All of the dead people have spent hundreds of years to forge their own weapons to ensure that they can rule over hell, but your weapon can't be used in hell, there's no time to reforge it, Shanu said. I can't use a sword? That's troublesome, Gu Qing Shan scowled. If a sword cultivator can't use a sword, how can they fight? Gu Qing Shan glanced over the weapons and asked, Can I use any of you? The weapons all shook their heads. We're weapons of Huang Quan, but we weren't created in hell, so we can't. Shanu stood out. Use me. As soon as she said that, the other weapons all shut up. It was quiet all around. Shanu's voice was loud and clear. The Grand Way Mountain itself is hell, and its laws also created me. Because of that, I can also be considered a sword created from the 18 layers of hell. Using me isn't against the rules. Saying so, her figure flashed and went into the 6 Paths Great Mountain Sword. The 6 Paths Great Mountain Sword vibrated and flew in front of Gu Qing Shan. Shanu's voice came from the sword. Before, when you gave me a treasure to help me recover, not only did I not repay you, I even forced you to swear an oath that was against my conscience. Now, I'm willing to fight by your side to express my apology, Shanu slowly spoke. Hearing that, Gu Qing Shan held the 6 Paths Great Mountain Sword tightly. Unlike before, this time when he held the sword, he could feel the coolness in his hand and the comfort of wielding it, as if it was an extension of his arm. This was the sword spirit's recognition of him. A few lines of glowing text appeared on the war god UI. You've obtained the recognition of the weapon spirit. You can learn the divine armament's properties. 6 Paths Great Mountain Sword, the sword of the world's worship, divine armament of Huang Quan. This sword is the manifestation of the Grand Tai Wei Mountain's law. This sword has the weapon spirit's thaumaturgy. Invincible, this sword has the weapon spirit's thaumaturgy. Living's wisdom. This sword has the weapon spirit's thaumaturgy. Lawbreaker. Chapter 463. Reading through the long description of the 6 Paths Great Mountain Sword, Gu Qing Shan was a bit dazed. He suddenly noticed that there was a notification at the end of all the notifications. Only when the divine armament tells you personally will you know the specific properties of the thaumaturgy. Alright, this is pretty much the same as the Earth Sword and Chao Yin Sword. Gu Qing Shan didn't really care about this, since he'll find out sooner or later. A crucial question popped up in his mind. The 6 Paths Great Mountain Sword is the only divine armament that can stop the 7-colored spear. How did such a powerful divine armament get so heavily wounded before the war even started? Shanu, I want to ask, how did you get wounded before? I'm not sure either, the calamity hadn't erupted at the time, I was still asleep. Shanu appeared very confused. They could damage your blade? They couldn't, my blade is made from the law of the Grand Tai Wei Mountain, it can even stop the winds of chaotic tribulation, no one can damage my blade. As soon as she said that, lines of glowing text appeared on the war god Yu. You've learned one of the 6 paths great mountain swords thaumaturgy. Invincible, invincible. No power or magic of the 10 worlds is able to damage this sword's blade. Gu Qing Shan silently read through everything. Shanna continued. The other party seems to know that I can't be destroyed, so they used some sort of secret technique to weaken me as a weapon spirit, then heavily wounded me. Speaking of this, Shanu appeared a bit sad and regretful. If I was unharmed, one of our sword-wielding divinities would be able to use me to fight against the 7-colored spear. At least, he would be able to stall for the other divinities for a bit, maybe the situation would turn around, but because my wounds were too heavy, I couldn't manifest my thaumaturgy and was sent flying by the 7-colored spear. From then on, the divinities couldn't do anything and could only fall one by one. Hearing that, Gu Qing Shan couldn't help but fall into thought. Ambushing a divine armament before the calamity, who would be able to do that? Perhaps the demons have been hiding in Huang Quan for a long time, waiting for the war to erupt before suddenly attacking. Plotting against divine armaments, killing divinities, occupying Huang Quan, tempting hell to descend upon the human realm, then after the world collapses, they invade 6 worlds at once. Gu Qing Shan felt a chill down her spine. The fiendish demon's methods were interconnected, and every step was perfectly realized. It was a little scary. But on the surface, to distract Shanu, he asked, "Are you all right now? Are there any internal injuries?" "Not at all, I was already a lot better before I met you, and then you gave me 3 treasures, so I'm completely healed now," Shanu replied. Gu Qing Shan raised the 6 paths great mountain sword in front of herself. The body of the sword, which was like autumn water, emitted traces of coldness. "Don't think about what happened before, this is the most crucial moment. Huang Quan's future depends on this," Gu Qing Shan told him. Shanu immediately followed up. "Don't worry Gongzi, I'm currently at my peak condition, I definitely won't disappoint you," she asked. "What about you? Do you dare to compete with the powerful dead of the 18 layers of hell?" Gu Qing Shan smiled. "Let's go, we're going to compete for the position of Devil King," he said. "As you wish," Shanna replied. The Blood River Hell. This was one of the cruelest hells. Most of the dead that were thrown into this hell were cruel and violent, causing unimaginable harm to others. That's why after death, they would suffer in this hell. There were countless monsters hidden in the Blood River, constantly tearing at the bodies of the dead. The pain they suffered was indescribable. A while ago, when the Devil King Warden Rod appeared, the entire Blood River boiled. Participating in the challenge of life and death, in the process of fighting, one step at a time would be able to leave the Blood River and reach the arena where the Devil King fights for supremacy. As long as they can reach the top of the arena, they won't have to suffer the torment of the Blood River for a while. If they win, they'll even get the chance to compete against other hells for the Devil King's authority. Almost all of the powerful dead signed up for such a good thing. And now, a lot of time has passed. The other 17 layers of hell have already chosen their strongest. The only spot to advance to the next layer of hell was still being fought over. In the middle of the Blood River stood a large square arena. The arena was divided into 4 sides, and each side had 1,800 steps. Gu Qing Shan was standing in front of the first step. He looked up. Groans of pain could be heard everywhere on the 1,800 step. All the dead that were eliminated were thrown out of the arena by other combatants, landing somewhere on the step. A few dead died, their bodies slowly disappearing. But most of the dead didn't die. They were heavily wounded during the competition, lying on the steps, enduring the pain of defeat. Gu Qing Shan appeared at the bottom of the steps. Immediately, countless dead people with broken bodies noticed him. "Look, a perfectly fine guy," one of the dead shouted. Damn it, he waited until we all lost to show up, what a daydream! I'll take care of him! Another dead roared. The dead all moved. They crawled forward, trying to grab Gu Qingshan's feet. These losers want to stop you from getting on the arena, Shanu reminded him. Gu Qingshan swung his sword and dealt with the closest dead in front of him. More and more dead were rushing towards him. They used both their hands and feet to crawl down from the top of the stairs, just to stop new competitors from getting on. His sword swung. Countless sword phantoms were killing the dead like a meat grinder. But there were so many dead in a single hell that Gu Qingshan couldn't kill them all in a short amount of time. Even if the dead were killed, they would only fall into slumber. That's why they didn't fear death, and kept rushing forward to stop Gu Qingshan from getting on the stairs. For a while, the entire stairs were filled with countless dead. On the other sides of the stairs, more and more dead were rushing forward. Don't even think about going up, one of the dead laughed in a frenzy. Gu Qingshan swung his sword to meet the enemy. Every dead that dared to challenge him were more or less capable, and there were so many of them that Gu Qingshan was stuck in a stalemate. Shanu worriedly said, "This can't go on, they clearly can't win against you, but they're using their numbers to stop you from getting on the arena." Gu Qingshan didn't say anything and only continued to swing his sword. At this point, a desperate scream came from the top of the arena. Another competitor had died. The winner of the Blood River Hell was about to be born. While Gu Qingshan was still standing in front of the first step, continuously killing the unending stream of dead people. He hadn't even taken a single step forward. Gu Qingshan suddenly muttered, "It's my mistake, I forgot that these people are all villains from different eras, and forgot that this is a competition in hell." "What do you mean?" Shanu asked. "I mean, strength alone isn't enough to convince these villains, then what do we do?" Shanu was even more worried. Gu Qingshan's sword stance changed. The killing intent disappeared from his body. But there was an indescribable presence around him. "You're even more vicious than they are," he said. Boom! Countless sword images bloomed, like leaves dancing in the wind, blowing across the entire flight of stairs. Countless screams and screams resounded. Not a single dead died. Their hands and feet were all cut off, lying on the stairs like human sticks. Screams and screams resounded all over the place. In front of countless hateful gazes, Gu Qingshan kicked a dead that had lost his hands and feet down the stairs. The dead was soaking in the sea of blood below the stairs. From the sea of blood, numerous shadows swam over to devour this dead. The sea of blood will ensure that the dead won't die and continue to suffer this torture. Don't. I was wrong. I shouldn't have stopped you, I beg you, please let me go. The dead man burst into tears. On the stairs, the countless dead froze. Gu Qingshan slowly spoke. "Are you having fun on the stairs? Not having to suffer the pain of the sea of blood?" He stood still with a smirk on his face. "I don't mind not going to the ring, but after this, I'll turn all of you into human sticks and throw you all into the sea of blood. Not only do you not have your hands and feet, but you're also being devoured by monsters. I bet you've never experienced this pleasure before." He kicked the second dead into the sea of blood. The dead immediately let out a painful howl. The dead on the stairs watched the scene in silence. In hell, death means slumber, a brief farewell to pain and suffering. But Gu Qingshan didn't kill them. Instead, he cut off their hands and feet, making them unable to resist at all. Being devoured by the sea of blood monsters without any resistance. This is true torture. "You devil!" one of the dead screamed. He silently crawled away from the stairs in front of Gu Qingshan. "Abominable devil! Perverted devil! Let's go, don't piss him off," the dead whispered among themselves. When Gu Qingshan kicked the third dead into the sea of blood, the stairs had already opened up. It was a path that led straight to the ring. Chapter 464. Gu Qingshan looked at the long flight of stairs. At the top of the stairs, A black screen of light decorated with dazzling starlight covered the entire arena, similar to how it looked before the curtains were drawn. Gu Qingshan released his inner sight to touch the black screen, only to be bounced back. Seems like the situation inside the arena couldn't be seen from the outside. So mysterious. Gu Qingshan muttered in a low voice. Holding the 6 paths great mountain sword tightly in his hand, he flew up the stairs. 1,800 steps passed in the blink of an eye. Gu Qingshan crashed into the black screen. The world was spinning. He suddenly landed on an empty field. The ground was covered in snow. Cold wind was blowing in the sky. All around him was a vast wilderness. Night had fallen. Gu Qingshan crouched down and grabbed a handful of snow. It was cold to the touch. This feeling was so real that Gu Qingshan was a bit surprised. Was this all caused by the Devil King Warden Rod? He asked. Yes, it's so powerful, even without a weapon spirit. The scepter itself is still able to wield a whole host of thaumaturgies. How unimaginable, Shanu replied. Even without a weapon spirit, it's still so powerful, no wonder it could fight against the divinities of several worlds. Gu Qingshan sighed emotionally. The faint sound of music could be heard from the wind. Gu Qingshan followed the sound and looked afar. At the edge of the wilderness was an endless ocean. A large ship was anchored by the shore. Under the night sky, the entire ship was brightly lit. Out of nowhere, a message appeared in Gu Qingshan's mind. It was the Devil King Warden Rod's request from afar. Boarding the ship, Gu Qingshan muttered. He suddenly thrust his sword forward. From the darkness, a lion suddenly jumped forward, about to roar. It was originally preparing to ambush Gu Qingshan, but didn't expect Gu Qingshan to suddenly attack. This attack came without any warning, so the lion couldn't dodge at all. Am I the one being ambushed? A strange thought popped up in the lion's mind. The long sword pierced through its open mouth, all the way into its body. The pouncing lion seemed to have taken the initiative to skewer itself on the sword. Ao 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 ao. The lion's 4 claws dangled in the air as it howled miserably. Animal. I mean, friend from the Beast King realm, did you want to greet me? Gu Qingshan asked. The lion hurriedly nodded. Whoosh. Gu Qingshan pulled out her sword. The lion was freed at once. It let out a ferocious roar. Roar. Damn humans, whoosh. The sword pierced into the lion's mouth again, skewering the entire lion. The 6 paths great mountain sword was a bit longer than normal swords, so piercing through the lion's body wasn't an issue. Gu Qingshan raised her sword. The lion was skewered on the sword, its 4 claws in the air, but it was helpless. Buddy, I'm new here, your attitude will scare me, Gu Qingshan said sincerely. Ao ao ao. Howl howl. The lion howled and begged for mercy. This time, it behaved itself. It couldn't evade the other party's sword at all. Obviously, the other party was terrifyingly strong and could take its life at any moment. Let's talk nicely, do you agree? Gu Qingshan asked. The lion nodded to express its agreement. The sword was pulled back. Then, friend from the Beast King realm, why aren't you trying to board the ship and instead loitering around here? Gu Qingshan asked. The lion sat down on the ground and dejectedly said, I've already chosen, what's the point of going? That can't be right, as far as I know, the Blood River Hell still hasn't chosen the final combatant, Gu Qingshan said. The lion answered, They've already chosen, but due to that combatant's personality, he didn't want to board the ship just like that. Didn't want to board the ship? Gu Qingshan scowled. That's right, he still hasn't eaten enough. The lion seemed to remember something and shivered. Eat. You'll understand when you see, the lion slowly spoke, as if trying to gauge Gu Qingshan's strength. While the man and the lion were talking, countless dead people quietly surrounded them. Giants, fiendkind, wild beasts, chaotic creatures, asuras, there were too many to count. An unfamiliar face, someone muttered. He's not a combatant from our hell. Does anyone know him? Gu Qingshan looked at the crowd of dead and stroked the lion's head. I'm his friend. I heard that he wants to become the Devil King, so I came to watch him compete. The dead froze. I've never seen him before. Everyone, let's get rid of this fledgling. The lion shouted. The dead all rushed forward. How heartbreaking, Gu Qingshan commented. From the darkness, a giant white moonlight manifested from thin air. A single strike. Blood and flesh splattered everywhere. Before the blood could even fall, it was already blown away by the sharp wind generated by the sword. The moonlight slowly faded away. Gu Qingshan appeared with a serious expression. As soon as the sword phantoms illuminated the surroundings, he saw an endless sea of dead. All the combatants of the Blood River Hell were gathered in the wilderness. Among the dead, there wasn't even a place for them to stand. They were fighting in the most primitive way possible, trying to find the joy of killing. But they only dared to kill each other, none of them dared to approach the ship. From the looks of it, one of the strongest combatants had arrived near the ship. However, that combatant seemed to have a different idea, so he didn't board the ship. Seems like I need to hurry, Gu Qingshan muttered. Despite saying that, he simply stood still with the Six Paths Great Mountain sword on his shoulder. Aren't we going to fight for the Devil King title? Shanna couldn't help but ask. That's right, but there's an endless sea of dead from here. How long are we going to fight for? Gu Qingshan scowled and said. So you're just going to stand here? Shanu asked. While they were talking, a mammoth charged forward. It stomped down on Gu Qingshan. Puny human, die. Turn into minced meat. The mammoth roared in a frenzy. A blinding sword phantom slashed through the void of space. The mammoth froze on the spot, unable to move at all. Gu Qingshan had activated a freeze, turning it into a sitting duck for a short period of time. 2 seconds later, 7 strikes had passed. A few moments later, 7 flickering lights appeared on the sword. The lights were resonating, as if calling out to something. Gu Qingshan exerted all her strength, wielded the sword with both hands and slashed forward. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. Lightning surged from the longsword. The blinding lightning illuminated the entire wilderness, turning it into a world of flickering light. 7 stars flowing dragon. A giant dragon head made of lightning flew out from the sword and bit the mammoth in its mouth. The mammoth lost all signs of life in the blink of an eye. Following that, a dragon made of both sword phantoms and lightning flew out from the sword. Wait a bit, Gu Qingshan called out. The lightning dragon seemed to be sentient as it circled in the air. Gu Qingshan flew on top of the dragon's head. Roar! The lightning dragon let out an earth-shattering roar and flew up. Gu Qingshan pointed the sword forward. The lightning dragon turned into a streak of lightning, flying across the entire wilderness in a single breath. The wind was howling past her ears. The scenery around her was quickly disappearing. The dead that crowded the entire wilderness were at a loss in the face of the power of the heavenly thunder. In the blink of an eye, the ship had arrived. Gu Qingshan could even see the situation on the ship. A dozen dead were standing on the ship, each forming a small circle. Gu Qingshan saw the 7 leaders of hell that she met before. The lightning dragon was so eye-catching that the 7 leaders also noticed Gu Qingshan standing on top of its head. The expressions on the 7 leaders' faces were very strange. Gu Qingshan ignored them for now and looked down at the side of the ship. A giant the size of a small mountain was sitting in front of the ship. The giant had started a fire, occasionally throwing some dying dead into the fire to roast. Some of the roasted dead were caught by the giant and stuffed into his mouth. Ignoring the screams of pain coming from his mouth, the giant continued to chew. Seems like he was the entity that the lion mentioned. The giant also noticed the lightning dragon. He cautiously stood up with a battle axe in his hand. Roasting living people to eat? Your retribution has come, Gu Qingshan muttered. He pointed his sword forward. The giant lightning dragon flew down from the sky. The lightning dragon opened its mouth wide and bit the giant. The giant swung his battle axe, but the blade of the axe went straight through the flashing lightning and missed. The lightning dragon bit the giant. Arg! The giant screamed in pain. An ascended realm late stage sword saint using 7 stars flowing dragon at full power, its power was nothing short of extraordinary. Very quickly, the giant's body gave off a burnt smell. He fell down and extinguished the fire. It was now that Gu Qingshan landed. He immediately received a formless message. Chapter 465. The Human Realm. The capital of the Federation. The densely packed coffins covered the entire sky. These coffins were floating in the sky, but it was almost like they were floating on water, squeezing against each other. They were slowly flying towards the capital's outskirts. The mountaintop mansion. Monarch Verona and the president were both in the living room. Before Gu Qingshan left for Huangquan, Impartial Goddess did as he asked and notified the 2 most powerful leaders of humanity. The Fuxi Empire and the Freedom Federation reached an agreement in no time at all. To fight against the approaching army of Hell, the 2 countries' mechanical armies were handed over to Impartial Goddess and Iron Shroud to command. Seeing Gu Qingshan's seemingly asleep state, Monarch Verona commented, "How miraculous! He can actually go to Huangquan." The president's expression was a bit worried. He asked the martial saint next to him, "What's the situation outside?" Martial Saint Zhang Zongyang answered, "The 4 hells are suddenly rushing here. I think Gu Qingshan must have done something in Huangquan. It's okay." Impartial Goddess said that there aren't many enemies. The dead seem to be held back by something, Yi Feili said. Impartial Goddess' voice came. Reporting to everyone, a group of fiendkind is quickly approaching the Federation. The interstellar fleet sent to stop them has been destroyed. Zhang Zongyang stood up and said, "I'll go." Zhang Young-ho looked at him and asked worriedly, "Old man, are you sure? What level of cultivation have you reached to say something like that?" Zhang Zongyang disappeared from the room, leaving only a single sentence. Golden core. The room went silent. Zhang Young-ho and Yi Feili exchanged glances. "That's impossible. What kind of secret technique did Gu Qingshan give him? He doesn't even have a pill." Zhang Young-ho couldn't understand. In fact, to be able to become a martial saint in a world with almost no cultivation civilization like this, his talent can only be described as terrifying. Zhang Zongyang was a hero of his generation, but he's never come into contact with an unknown power like spirit energy. And now Gu Qingshan has led him on the path. His strength had advanced by leaps and bounds. After Zhang Zongyang left, after a bit of silence, Impartial Goddess' voice came again. "Attention everyone, thousands of giants are moving from the desert." Yi Feili stood up and sat down again. "No, I have to stay here and watch over him." Yi Feili murmured. "In that case, let me lead the way." Zhang Young-ho stood up and said. Verona looked at Zhang Young-ho. "Impartial Goddess, I authorize Zhang Young-ho to lead all professionists in the Fuxi Empire." "Yes, Your Majesty," Impartial Goddess replied. Zhang Young-ho froze and said hesitantly, "Your Majesty." This Monarch Verona patted Zhang Young-ho's shoulder. "Go, you're a good conductor, especially when it comes to killing." Zhang Young-ho took a deep breath and said, "All right, thank you." He quickly left. A few moments later, Impartial Goddess' voice was heard again. "Warning! The coffins in the sky above the capital are moving faster. They will arrive in 17 minutes. Situation report complete. Please make your decision, Sir Commander." The President immediately said, "I authorize the garrison troops to go all out against the enemy. All other military regions are to gather their forces and prepare for reinforcements." Impartial Goddess immediately replied, "Roger. 3, 2, 1, garrison troops are attacking." As soon as she said so, all the tables and chairs in the mountaintop mansion began to shake. The sound of cannon fire came one after another. Boom, boom, boom. Blinding light shone through the window, illuminating the room as if it was daytime. The interstellar fleet and the mobile mech squad were all mobilized. The entire capital has already been evacuated. This metal city has become the front line of humanity's war against hell. A report: a lot of monsters have appeared inside the coffins. They're attacking our defensive position. Through analysis, the best strategy is to fight in close combat. Roger, mobile mech specials, attack. Roger. The sound of explosions continued to resound across the sky. A few moments later, Impartial Goddess reported again. The battle has entered a stalemate, artillery fire has stopped, the 1st, 2nd, and 7th mobile mech squads are 15 kilometers away from the battlefield, preparing to reinforce. Impartial Goddess, report the number of casualties just now to me, the President ordered. Roger, sir. Rows of numbers appeared on the President's holobrain. After looking at it for a while, the President closed his eyes in pain. Qing Shan, can you succeed? He muttered. The room fell into a gloomy silence. Bam! The door was suddenly kicked open. Yi Fei Li's expression changed, jumped up and shielded Gu Qing Shan behind her. But then a roaring female voice was heard. Su Cher, come out. Like a ball of flame, she jumped into the mansion's living room, changing the temperature of the room. Anna, you're back. Yi Fei Li sighed in relief. The bloody glow around his body was retracted. That's right, I didn't stop you, and I didn't dare to stop Miss Anna, Impartial Goddess voice came. Anna walked in with large strides, followed by a black dog. She saw Gu Qing Shan, then the Federation President and Monarch Verona. Anna immediately revealed a look of surprise. Auntie, why are you here? Where's Su Cher? As she asked, she noticed the atmosphere in the room wasn't quite right. The air was heavy and filled with sadness. Then she looked at Gu Qing Shan, sitting there with her eyes closed without saying a word. Could it be? Anna jumped forward, grabbing Gu Qing Shan's hand. Cold, no pulse. He's dead. Anna's face went pale. Her tears couldn't stop flowing. As she wiped them away, endless black flames began to boil around her body. Her crimson hair began to move without any wind, turning into a burning black. The air began to tremble. The flower vase on the windowsill, Fei Li, left the ground and hovered in the air. Who killed him? I'm going to cut that person into 1,000 pieces. Anna cursed. Calm down, he's not dead, Black Dog said. He ran up to Gu Qing Shan and sniffed her. This isn't the smell of death. Black Dog circled around Gu Qing Shan with interest. Looks like he's dead, but all of his life force has been retracted, allowing his soul to sense Huang Quan. How ingenious, Black Dog praised. Yi Fei Li stood up. A pair of fearsome bone spikes sprouted from his back. Anna, you've come just in time. Please protect Qing Shan well. I'm going to face the enemy. He opened the window and flew up, heading towards the capital's sky. Anna had already realized what happened. From the looks of it, Gu Qing Shan isn't dead. The black flames on her body went out. Her floating black hair fell down, turning back to crimson red. The vase suspended in midair fell to the ground with a crash. Fortunately, it was unscathed. Anna looked at Monarch Verona and hurriedly asked, Auntie, what exactly happened? Also, why are you all here? Ah, there's more. Where's Su Cher? Verona face-bombed. Anna, you're the head of the Medici clan, soon to become the mistress of the Holy Empire. Why can't you stay calm at all? Verona then told her everything that had happened recently. Anna's eyes lit up, then muttered in a low voice. He did what he promised me. She used a few fingers to rub the tip of her crimson hair. Promise? What promise? Verona asked. Nothing. Anna's face slowly turned red. Boom. The entire mansion suddenly shook. Anna's expression changed and said, I'm going to take a look. She leaped out of the window and flew high into the sky. Yi Fei Li was sent crashing into the side of the mountain, forming a crater. Just now, he was the one who caused quite a bit of damage to the mountain. On the plains not too far away from the mountain, Countless majestic giants were slowly approaching. "We're almost there, it's here," one of the giants shouted. From the mountain, a blood-red glow flew up to the sky. "Ye fairly spat out some blood. Pa, I was just too careless just now," he roared, turned into a blurred image, and charged into the crowd of giants again. Anna looked at where the giants were heading, then at the floating coffin from afar. Looking down, in the mansion below, Gu Qingshan was still sleeping. Seems like the target of these hells really was Gu Qingshan. Her crimson hair fluttered in the wind. Anna's beautiful eyes slowly squinted. A soft whisper was carried by the wind. "That's the man I've chosen. How dare you have designs on him?" A black mystical rune appeared in Anna's hand. "Death God's eternal life." She clenched her fist. Bam! A pillar of black flame that connected heaven and earth suddenly appeared outside the mountain. The flame scattered into tiny sparks that filled the void of space. All of a sudden, the clouds were completely covered. The entire mountain, as well as the Federation's capital, fell into a thick, night-like darkness. A towering figure appeared in front of the mountain. The coffins that were floating in the air were nothing more than low clouds in front of it. Facing the incomparably huge body, Anna softly spoke. "Lord Hound God, up ahead is your lunch today. Let me see, they're all sinful souls from hell. That's to my liking," the figure casually and slowly spoke, but his voice was enough to cause the void of space itself to tremble. A figure made entirely of black flames, several times taller than the skyscraper giant. The godlike giant hound bared its fangs and looked down at its lunch. "Little Anna, prepare today's liquor." "Yes." "Then, I'll begin my meal." The sky-covering black flames lightly flew down towards the plains below. The vast plains were completely covered by it. The human professionists and mechs were completely unharmed, while the giants were swallowed by the black flames. One of the giants shouted, trying to resist the black flames with all his might. But it was useless. His gigantic body was slowly being swallowed by the black flames. The giant gave up on struggling and angrily shouted, "Wait until I wake up from my slumber." A sorrowful voice came from the void of space. "Wake up? Pitiful insect, what awaits you is nothing but eternal nothingness. Your soul will become my power." This was Hound's voice. The black flames gathered again, piling up in the air to form Hound's appearance. "Although you're just an insect, the taste of your soul is still delicious," Hound moaned in satisfaction. Its gaze was focused on the coffins in the sky. "The presence of God. It's God. Run, if you're eaten, you won't be able to revive from your slumber." Countless fearful voices came from inside the coffins. All the coffins scattered. "In the face of death, cowardice is useless," Hound spoke in a low voice, its voice resounding across the sky. Clouds of black flames scattered from its body and chased after the scattered coffins. The mountaintop mansion. Verona and the president stood in front of the window, silently watching this shocking scene. "Sir, what do you think?" the Empress asked. "The world is no longer the same as before," the president sighed. "That's true. Then what about the Freedom Federation? Where do you plan to let the people go?" the Empress asked again. The president reached his hand out. The flower vase that fell on the ground earlier silently stood up. A rose flew out from the vase and landed in his hand. "What stage of Qi training are you?" the Empress smiled and asked. "Qi training stage 3, about to break through to Qi training stage 4, the president sniffed the rose and whispered, "I heard Gu Qingshan say that as long as you cultivate, humanity will have unimaginable power to fight against all demons and devils." Chapter 466. Following the Devil King Warden Rod's instructions, Gu Qingshan jumped onto the deck of the ship. All the combatants of the 18 layers of hell were here. "The Blood River Hell finally has someone who isn't too weak," someone evaluated him and spoke with a smile that didn't look like a smile. "That's right, that laughable giant, acting like he eats people in front of us. Does he really think we'll be afraid? Strong on the outside but weak on the inside." It's good that he's dead. I've been waiting for a while now, the combatants discussed among themselves. Gu Qingshan glanced at the other 17 dead people. The 7 familiar leaders were standing together, while the other 10 stood on the other side. According to the bone-rending Hellspawn Blade, this is probably the faction that wants to save Hell and the faction that wants to destroy Hell and take over the human realm. Gu Qingshan looked at the 7 leaders and asked, "Can I join you?" "It would be my honor," the female Azura leader smiled and replied. The male Azura asked with a muffled voice, "Big Sis, is he really as strong as you say?" The female Azura didn't even turn around and pinched him, making the male Azura speechless. A dissatisfied voice came from the other side. "Brat, do you understand what's going on?" Gu Qingshan looked back to see that the one who spoke was a giant. This giant's entire body was enveloped in flames. Among the 7 leaders, there was also a fiend kind covered in golden light. But compared to the 2 of them, this giant's aura was much stronger. "You're also a new face, but since you were able to kill that giant just now, it's worth me explaining a bit," the giant spoke. "I'm all ears," Gu Qingshan replied. "The truth is, the 7 people behind you are all cowards." "Cowards?" Gu Qingshan smiled. He looked at the 7 leaders, only to see that they all had angry expressions on their faces. Unfortunately, while both sides were about the same in terms of strength, the other side had more than 10 people, so they could only endure it for now. The flaming giant said, "These weaklings only want to accumulate merit and eliminate the pain of hell so that they can reincarnate. 4 dead people, that's normal, how are they cowards? Idiot. Now that the Yellow Springs has perished, we can go to the human world. There are countless humans there, and as long as we eat humans we can get rid of the hellish torment on our bodies. Eating human souls can make us stronger. Do you understand? With such a good situation, they actually want to reincarnate." Gu Qingshan looked at the 10 experts in front of her and said, "Are you all planning to conquer the human world? Of course, this is the best way out. Join us," the flaming giant said. Gu Qingshan doubtfully asked, "If I continue to eat people, the sin on my body will only increase. If one day, when the world of Huang Quan returns to normal, wouldn't I have to suffer even more pain and suffering, never to be able to escape the sea of suffering again? That's why we will cooperate with the demons to destroy the entire hell, and then go to the human realm," the giant said proudly. "I understand, it really is cowardice," Gu Qingshan nodded. The 10 experts smiled when they heard what he said. Gu Qingshan took a step back and stood beside the 7 commanders. "What are you?" The giant didn't understand. "You don't even dare to face your own sins and instead commit even more sins. What a foolish and cowardly act," Gu Qingshan said. "Sin is the true joy. Don't tell me you haven't experienced this joy before," the giant looked at her and said. Gu Qingshan also looked at him. Their eyes met. The giant's eyes were filled with madness and brutality. He didn't try to hide this at all. Killing those annoying bastards, smelling the scent of blood, not being soft-hearted by anything unrelated, only thinking about achieving your own goal. "Buddy, I know you're the same type of person as us," the flaming giant said. "Why do you say that?" Gu Qingshan asked. "Smell. I can smell the scent of my own kind. You're a peerless demon, just like me," the giant roared. "Killing." Gu Qingshan went silent for a bit, then said, "Perhaps when it comes to killing, we're more alike." The female Azura held her weapon tightly. The 7 commanders also became tense. They roughly knew how strong Gu Qingshan was. The 10 experts on the other side looked at each other and smiled in understanding. "That's right, villains know villains best. He's on our side." Another demon, ahaha, they talked to each other unscrupulously. Gu Qingshan continued, "But we're still different, how so? Are you trying to say that you're crueler than I am?" The giant laughed. "Brat, listen carefully, I've killed over 10,000 people." Behind the giant, a female fiend-kind suddenly shouted. Her tone sounded like she was showing off. The people around her all cheered. Gu Qingshan's expression was still calm. He muttered, "Killing is only a requirement of my profession, but you are all demons controlled by killing, so we're different. You've killed over 10,000 people when your parents created you. They must have made some sort of mistake to produce a scum like you. This truly is the world's regret." There was silence. The female Azura sighed in relief. The 7 commanders calmed down and smiled. The 10 combatants were furious. The flames on the giant's body grew stronger. The female devil cultivator charged forward ferociously. "Go to hell!" She let out a hysterical scream. "Stop! Don't you dare!" The female Azura drew her blade and stepped forward to stop her. "There are 10 of us, so what if you're an Azura?" the female fiendkind shouted in a frenzy. "If you dare to attack, I'll definitely kill you until your ass explodes," the female Azura declared. The 7 commanders rushed forward. The giant roared. The 10 combatants all prepared to attack. Gu Qingshan drew her sword. Right at this moment, a heavy scepter descended from the sky. It was a black scepter with a sharp horn and a skull head, surrounded by black fog. The Devil King Warden Rod. It suddenly appeared. Oh! The Devil King Warden Rod stood on the deck, letting out a sharp howl. Everyone stopped. A message was sent from the scepter into everyone's mind. "Anyone who attacks will be eliminated. Consider yourself lucky, brat," the female fiendkind begrudgingly said. "The lucky one is you, because you're no match for him at all," the female Azura retorted. The female fiendkind was furious, trying her best to control herself. "Just you wait, sooner or later I'll make sure to torture you, bitch," she said. The female Azura wanted to retaliate, but couldn't help but shut her mouth. Everyone stopped talking and stared at the Devil King Warden Rod. The Devil King Warden Rod was changing. Dots of light as bright as stars appeared from the void of space. These dots of light surrounded the horned skull head of the scepter, silently floating. 1, 2, 3, 4, a total of 54 dots of light. The dots of light rotated once, then gathered together to form a blinding mass of light. This mass of light surpassed everything else, turning the entire void of space into day. The 18 combatants couldn't help but cover their eyes with their hands or turn their back. A few moments later, the light faded. Chapter 467. All the light above the Devil King Warden Rod disappeared. A deck of cards appeared in front of everyone. Cards? Everyone had the same question in their minds. What's coming next should be the strongest battle of the 18 layers of hell. Why did a deck of cards appear? They couldn't believe what they were seeing. It really was a deck of cards. The deck of cards was stacked on top of each other. The surface of each card was a deathly gray. The very top card had already been flipped over. It was the scenery, the wilderness, the ocean. The moonlight illuminated the night sky. A large ship was docked on the shore. 18 combatants stood on the ship, surrounding a scepter. "What's going on?" someone asked, confused. The card hovered in the air, then stopped. "It seems to be a law related to God's chosen," one of the combatants muttered. "A single card pulled all of us into this. That's impossible," another combatant spoke without hesitation. "Humph, what do you know?" The first combatant didn't say anything else after saying that. But his expression was a lot more serious. Gu Qingshan was also a lot more serious. To be able to use a single card to create a small world, as well as hold a lot of dead people fighting inside, this God's chosen law's ability to create things is unimaginably powerful. The first card was still hovering in the air, not moving at all. 18 cards flew out from the pile, hovering in front of each combatant. They looked at their own cards, then at the others. Very quickly, they noticed that the cards in front of them depicted themselves in a deep sleep, while the others' cards naturally depicted other people in a deep sleep. At this point, the Devil King Warden Rod still remained silent. It didn't give any more hints. Everything that happened was too strange. The 18 combatants carefully looked at the cards in front of them, not knowing what to do. "So it's a dreamscape card," Gu Qing-shan silently thought. At the same time, a few combatants also had their own thoughts. The Devil King Warden Rod was related to God's chosen. This was something that no one could have thought of. Gu Qing-shan recalled her past life. At the time, there were indeed a few excellent gods chosen who were able to turn their gods chosen skills into cards. But no one has ever been able to do what they're seeing. People fought in a card, and then a new card appeared in the card, and the new card could bring people into a dream. There are cards in cards. What would happen next? Gu Qing-shan pondered. He suddenly burst into laughter. Possessing such inconceivable power to construct a world and a dream, it would be a walk in the park for the other party to kill them. Under such circumstances, there was really nothing to think about. There was no turning back. He reached out and touched the card in front of him. This card is a dream. You need to enter it to find out what's inside, Gu Qing-shan reminded the seventh commander. While the commanders were still hesitating, Gu Qing-shan had already disappeared. Suddenly, he was sucked into the card. The 17 experts were startled. Interesting, I'll also go take a look, the female Azura said. She touched her card and disappeared in an instant. Then, the other powerhouses followed suit and touched their cards one after another. Of the 18 powerhouses, only 2 remained. Why didn't you go in? One of them asked. This must be a trap. If we go in, wouldn't we just be waiting to be slaughtered? The other replied. That makes sense, but the first card was already shown to us. The other party's strength is enough to create a world, if that's the case. The first person pondered. He suddenly reached his hand out and touched the card. And now there was only one person left. He stood alone on the deck of the ship. Those people were too careless and got sucked into the card just like that. Should I go in and take a look as well? Just as he was hesitating, his figure disappeared from the first card floating in the air. He also disappeared from the ship. The first person to be eliminated was born. On the other side, Gu Qing-shan's feet landed on the ground. Dim light. Soothing music. Whispers, laughter, and the sound of toasting. Sir, what would you like to drink? The bartender politely asked. Gu Qing-shan didn't answer and quickly looked around. This was a bar. It's familiar. I remember it. I'm standing in front of the bar. He suddenly saw Yi Feili and Liao Xing. The two of them were sitting at a booth, talking and drinking. Sir? The bartender hesitantly asked. Gu Qing-shan pointed at a bottle. Very well, please wait a moment. The bartender skillfully opened the bottle, took out a glass, and poured it for him. Gu Qing-shan sat down on a chair in front of the bar. All of a sudden, a lazy, hoarse voice resounded in his ears. Someone's been eliminated. Gu Qing-shan turned around. At some unknown point, a black-robed man was sitting next to him. Gu Qing-shan recalled what happened just now. This person had appeared out of thin air, without any sound or movement. Gu Qing-shan pondered. Did you create this place? No, this place was created by both you and me, the black-robed man replied. He received 2 glasses of liquor from the bartender and put one in front of Gu Qing-shan. What do you mean? Gu Qing-shan asked. My rule is to create an environment that will make you feel the most comfortable. The black-robed man seemed a bit helpless. You seem to have a lot of pressure in your life. I've spent a lot of time picking out the rules of the cards, only to find this place to relax. He raised his glass. Gu Qing-shan raised her glass and clinked it with the black-robed man. The two of them drank the wine. This liquor is still as spicy as ever. If I didn't know beforehand, I would have thought this was reality, Gu Qing-shan commented. And you're a sword cultivator, a sword cultivator that could become a lord of a hell. I'm sure your fighting strength is quite decent as well. Very well, congratulations, you've passed the first round. Gu Qing-shan was a bit confused. I passed the first round just like that? I'm fighting in a card, and there's also a dreamscape card in this card. After entering the dreamscape card, there's another person holding a card book, using cards to test me. While he was thinking, the black-robed man had already drawn 6 cards from the book. The black-robed man quickly put the 6 cards together to form a large card. On this card there was a scene of a great war. Wraiths, divinities, beast kings, asuras, forming an unprecedented army. They were discussing on the cards, holding a vow ceremony. A divinity stood on top of a podium, loudly declaring something. The warriors of the 4 worlds were fully armored and raised their weapons high up in the air. The next scene was them rushing into the world of Huang Quan. The Grand Tai Wei mountain that hasn't moved for over 10,000 years cracked open. The dead from the 18 layers of hell charged out. The vanguard of both sides clashed. The war had begun. Gu Qingshan only looked at it from afar, but he could already feel a sense of grandeur. Countless tragic songs and heroic deeds were being sung at every moment. The black-robed man raised this card with an apologetic expression. I don't know if you can endure this level of war, but to become the Devil King, you must enter the next dreamscape and witness that era. This is the second round? That's right, then let's go. Chapter 468. Gu Qingshan put his hand on the card. The black-robed man knocked on the bar counter and said, "This is our shared dream, but you will soon enter someone else's dream. What do I need to do after I enter?" Gu Qingshan asked. "Once you enter, you will replace that person. After that, you must use that person's identity to find the entrance to the next dream. There are other dreams? Of course, if you can't find a way to enter the next dream, you will be eliminated. Are there any hints? This is Hell's greatest failure. Let me see how you will deal with it." As soon as the black-robed man said so, the card gave off a layer of light that enveloped Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan felt a bit dazed. The scene changed. The bar disappeared. The sky and clouds appeared. A black and red flag fluttered in the wind. Gu Qingshan found himself standing at the top of a mountain. As far as his eyes could see, he could only see a mountain range that seemed to stretch on endlessly. At the end of his vision, there was a glowing city. The sun, moon, and stars surrounded it. As Gu Qingshan looked at the city, a notification popped up in his mind. Heaven Realm, Saint City. He looked at himself. The black armor that represented hell, although heavy, it still gave off an overwhelming amount of power. He swung his arm. A surge of power came from the gauntlet, infusing into his body and increasing his strength by several times. Gu Qingshan had never seen or heard of such a powerful armor before. A scene from his memories appeared. Because of his bravery and battle prowess, the Devil King granted him this black armor. This was the Devil King's collection that he had never taken out before. There was only one such armor in the entire hell. Gu Qingshan looked at the weapon in his hand. It was a jet-black blade. There were words engraved on the handle of the blade. "General, Great Wraith, so I'm the #1 Wraith General." Gu Qingshan swung the blade. The blade's power was quite average. However, as he waved it around, the Ghost General's memories gradually merged into his mind. Gu Qingshan sensed that something was wrong and immediately checked her belongings. All of his belongings had disappeared. "I only have the Ghost General's belongings on me, the Earth Sword, Chao Yin Sword, 7-colored fragrance bag, inventory bag, all the equipment and items in my thought sea are gone. Where's the 6 Paths Great Mountain Sword?" Buzz. Following his will, the autumn water-like long sword floated in the air in front of him. Gu Qingshan dropped the blade and wielded the 6 Paths Great Mountain Sword. With the sword in hand, Gu Qingshan felt much more at ease. Strangely enough, all of his belongings were gone, but this sword was still here. Just as he was thinking, the green-robed woman appeared from the sword. "Shanu, do you know why all my things are gone?" Gu Qingshan asked. This dream originated from an extremely powerful law. They allowed your consciousness to enter a certain body, while your soul was still at the same place where you were drinking wine, Shanu replied. "Even I only have my consciousness left, so how did you come here?" Gu Qingshan asked. The law that resisted the winds of chaotic tribulation manifested itself into me, so the other laws avoided me, not daring to interfere with me, Shanu casually replied. As soon as she said that, lines of glowing text appeared on the war god UI. You've learned the 6 paths Great Mountain Sword's second spirit thaumaturgy. Lawbreaker, a lawbreaker. No law of the infinite worlds can affect this sword. At this time, the low sound of a horn resounded all over the ground. Gu Qingshan looked around, only to see the entire mountain filled with black-armored soldiers cheering loudly. A sense of realization appeared in Gu Qingshan's mind. The world of Huangquan had defeated the Heaven Realm, the Azura, the Wraith Realm, the Beast King, and had now reached the center of the Heaven Realm. The Devil King had also left Hell to meet the divinities of the Heaven Realm. The divinities had all surrendered. Gu Qingshan looked around at her comrades. All the dead showed a smile on their faces. After so long, the light of victory had finally arrived. Gu Qingshan felt more and more strange. Shanu, didn't the Devil King fail in the age of old? That's right, I don't know what happened either. You didn't participate in the war at the time? I didn't like the sword-wielding fiends of the past, I didn't want to become their weapon, so I didn't participate, so that's why. Gu Qingshan was surprised and didn't ask any further. For both Gu Qingshan and Shanu, this was completely normal. A sword cultivator would choose the sword that suits them. Divine swords have their own spirits, so they would also choose their own masters. The relationship between a sword cultivator and their sword was completely different from the feelings of the mortal world. They shared the same will and sought their own Tao together. At this time, a long voice interrupted Gu Qingshan's thoughts. Reporting. A hellspawn quickly came forward, kneeling on the ground and loudly reported. Reporting to Sir Devil General, the surrender ceremony is about to begin. The other 2 sir have already arrived. Please come and accept your surrender as well. Wait a moment, Gu Qingshan said. But they're all here already, let them wait. Gu Qingshan stood still and observed his army. Each of the dead carried a faint murderous aura. Seeing the Devil General observing them, the dead soldiers instinctively straightened their backs and clenched their weapons tightly, as if waiting for orders. The entire mountain was filled with Hellspawn soldiers and Hellspawn generals. But aside from the sound of the wind, there was no other sound on the mountain. Orders were strictly followed, ready to fight at any moment. Not bad, Gu Qingshan silently praised. He suddenly saw a large number of beast kings and wraiths resting on the other side of the mountain. What's going on with them? Gu Qingshan immediately asked. A vice-general answered. They surrendered. Surrendered? Gu Qingshan instinctively repeated. His body moved and flew towards the other side of the mountain. As soon as the great Devil General moved, a large number of hellish soldiers followed him. When the evil spirits and beast kings saw the great ghost general coming with so many soldiers, they all stood up. Gu Qingshan arrived at the other side of the mountain. As his gaze passed through the tens of thousands of wraiths and beast kings, Gu Qingshan felt a bit uneasy. The wraiths came from the hungry wraith realm, their bodies completely unharmed, holding their weapons tightly while exuding a strong presence. The beast kings were full of vigor, their expressions cautious as they stared closely at Gu Qingshan's every move. An army that surrenders is like this? Gu Qingshan was a bit confused and muttered in a low voice. Sir, we've all surrendered, a wraith general tried to flatter him. Another beast king general also spoke. The Devil King's might is enough to shake heaven and earth, no one can go against him. If we don't surrender, should we just wait for death? As Gu Qingshan listened, a certain scene appeared in his mind. The Devil King wielded his scepter, exuding overwhelming might, forcing the divinities to retreat. The entire army was nothing but ants in front of the Devil King, wiped out in large numbers. After the soldiers of the four-realm allied army died, they were quickly turned into dead. And all the dead belonged to Huangquan, under the Devil King's control. The balance of power quickly tilted. Halfway through the war, the four-realm Allied army could no longer hold on. The Ghost King defeated the Allied forces of the Four Realms by himself. That was the reason why the other party surrendered. Gu Qingshan silently nodded. He stared at the Wraith and Beast Kings all over the mountain, his gaze focused on their weapons. Where did His Majesty the Devil King go? Gu Qingshan asked. Sir, have you forgotten? His Majesty is currently in Saint City, preparing to accept the divinity's allegiance, his vice-general answered. Gu Qingshan closed his eyes. The Devil King alone can fight against the Four Realms. If this war ends in defeat, then where does the problem lie? There's too little information. Gu Qingshan suddenly opened his eyes and gave his order. Men, here, gather our men and collect all the weapons of the Wraith and Beast King Allied army. Sir, they're about to submit, wouldn't that make them? Do as I say, yes. Hearing that, the Wraith and Beast Kings on the mountain became rowdy. You want to collect our weapons? The Wraith General asked. Its voice was very calm, without a single hint of emotion. That's right, didn't you already surrender? Gu Qingshan asked. A Beast King loudly shouted. Our worlds are about to merge into one, we'll all be comrades from now on, why are you humiliating us like this? You're looking down on us Beast Kings. That's right, you Wraith General, your thoughts are vicious, looking down on us. The Beast Kings and Wraiths were all agitated. How dare you? Gu Qingshan roared in anger. He drew his sword and pointed it at the Wraith and Beast King Allied army. Surround them, Gu Qingshan ordered. The sound of countless weapons being drawn could be heard. The entire army of Hell moved. They raised their weapons, formed a military formation, and slowly moved towards this mountain. Instantly, all voices went silent. What are you trying to do? The Wraith General asked in a low voice. Since you've surrendered, you must act like you've surrendered. If you dare to resist, I'll immediately report to the Devil King, saying that you're only pretending to surrender, but you're actually hiding ill intentions and want to commit treacherous acts. Gu Qingshan walked forward and faced the Wraith General. He muttered, You're still unwilling to give up your weapons, could it be that the surrender of the Allied army was fake? The Wraith General smiled. Sir Devil King's might is unparalleled, how could we be pretending to surrender? Before Gu Qingshan said anything, another Wraith soldier came to report. Sir, the surrender ceremony is about to begin, we're only waiting for you, let them wait, Gu Qingshan ordered. Sir, go now. Understood. The Wraith soldier quickly flew away. I'll say it one last time, put down your weapons, Gu Qingshan ordered. The Wraith General and the Beast King General exchanged glances. Gu Qingshan retreated and led the Wraith soldiers and Wraith generals into the army. Everyone, prepare yourselves, he ordered. Understood. The dead all entered a state of combat. The army of Hell was baring their fangs, waiting for their orders. Seeing this, the Wraith general's pupils dilated. Stop. We're putting down our weapons. He loudly ordered. Yes, yes, everyone put down your weapons, the Beast King General also hurriedly said. Gu Qingshan waved his hand and temporarily stopped the army. Send a squad to collect their weapons, he ordered. A group of Wraith soldiers went up the mountain and quickly collected the Wraith and Beast King's weapons. We've expressed our sincerity, are you satisfied? The Wraith General asked. I am, Gu Qingshan smiled. He suddenly swung his sword. Go, kill them all, the army of Hell immediately moved. Kill, kill, kill. The Wraith soldiers wielded their weapons and began to charge. On top of the mountain, the Wraith and Beast King army were panicking. Some of the Beast Kings even began to run. Run? Seeing this, Gu Qingshan smiled. Wait. Great Wraith General, we've already. The Wraith General hurriedly called out. Only by killing all of you and turning all of you into dead will I feel like you're on my side, you Wraith. The Beast King General angrily shouted. Chapter 469. Millions of Hell's army swarmed up the hill. Having lost their weapons, the Wraiths and Beast Kings couldn't retaliate at all. With just a single charge, the allied army was routed. There are a few powerful ones, don't let them escape, Gu Qingshan ordered. The 8 Wraith generals behind him spread out and chased after them. A few moments later, the Wraiths and Beast Kings were captured. They were brought in front of Gu Qingshan. You, the Wraith general shouted. Gu Qingshan swung his sword. 2 heads fell to the ground. In this way we have 2 more true comrades. Gu Qingshan told the generals. The generals laughed. Suddenly, all the Wraiths disappeared without a trace. The scenery around them also disappeared. The entire world became blank. A Wraith general appeared in front of Gu Qingshan. This Wraith general looked exactly the same as Gu Qingshan. From the looks of it, it was the original Great Wraith General. The Great Wraith General said nothing. He seemed to be feeling a bit complicated. It was clearly a sure-win situation. Why did you have to go this far? The Great Wraith General asked. Sure-win? That word represents arrogance, and I've always been a coward. The Great Wraith General pondered. That's right, the lives and deaths of my comrades are tied to me. I can't give the enemy any chance to turn the tables. Then you could have just kept your weapons. Why did you have to kill them all? In every world, there will always be methods that we don't know about, so you have to respect the unknown. You're afraid that they might have unknown methods? That's right, the Great Wraith General went silent for a bit, then sighed. So it wasn't the enemy's fault, it was my own carelessness. His body slowly turned into a card. This card floated in front of Gu Qingshan. On the card, the Great Wraith General wore a jet-black armor, wielded a blade, and roared with a resounding roar. A few lines of text appeared at the bottom of the card. The strongest ghost general of Huang Quan, with the divine armor granted by the Devil King, able to fight against the allied army of the 4 realms and the divinities without ever losing, because he was tricked by the allied forces, the great ghost general was besieged on all sides. In the final battle, he was unable to protect the Ghost King, so he was filled with regret and committed suicide at the end of the war. Great Ghost General, Vengeance Deck Summon Card, Combat Power Number 1. When Gu Qingshan finished reading the words on the card, the Great Ghost General raised his head and looked at him. You are a qualified general. Bring me to the next dream, the Great Ghost General said. Gu Qingshan took the tile. Without any warning, the heavens fell and the earth split. The entire world began to shake. The emptiness shattered, and the scene outside appeared in front of Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan found herself sitting on the back of a giant elephant. He was surrounded by countless peerless beauties who wielded weapons to protect him. Cough, Gu Qingshan couldn't help coughing. He coughed up a mouthful of blood. A beautiful woman wearing intricately patterned armor flew onto the back of the elephant and knelt down in front of him. King, are you all right? The beautiful woman worriedly asked. I won't die. Being able to fight against the Devil King is worth it, even if I'm wounded. Gu Qingshan heard what his body said. The beautiful woman nodded. We're about to reach the holy city, please rest for a bit. King, saying so, she retreated. At the same time, Gu Qingshan regained control of his body. This body was extremely weak, so weak that even moving was difficult. All of a sudden, a voice resounded in his ears. As a reward for passing the previous dream, I will help you obtain some benefits. This was the Great Ghost General's voice. As soon as its voice disappeared, countless scenes flashed through Gu Qingshan's mind. These scenes came one after another, all of them falling into Gu Qingshan's mind. Memories. These are memories. Gu Qingshan understood. The body he possessed had passed on all the memories of the battle to him. Unlike when he took over the Great Ghost General, the memories he received this time were very clear. Indeed, these were the Azura King's battle memories from the age of old. And these memories were all of the battles he fought. This was the Azura King's experience and understanding. Azuras were a warring race, having spent their entire lives in battle, Even the Azura King was no exception. Although the techniques he received were limited to the Azura race, all of his battle experiences were completely different from what Gu Qingshan had seen in his life. Gu Qingshan felt like his horizons had been broadened. For Gu Qingshan, who had fought twice, this was the same as giving him more knowledge and experience. Gu Qingshan closed his eyes and began to accept the memories. After what seemed like a long time but also like only a second, Gu Qingshan opened his eyes and began to reflect on his previous battles. At this point, he was even able to find the flaws in each of his attacks from his previous battles. Gu Qingshan's level of fighting was already very high, so to find his flaws, he would need unprecedented insight. If it was before, Gu Qingshan definitely wouldn't have been able to do this. But now, he could easily find the flaws in his attacks. Gu Qingshan couldn't help but silently sigh. I never thought that fighting for the Devil King would give me such great benefit. Gu Qingshan opened his eyes and looked around. Countless soldiers were surrounding the elephant he was riding, protecting him as he moved forward. In front of him was the Heaven Realm's Saint City. The elephant suddenly stopped. Four Azuras were standing in front of the elephant. They were blocking the elephant's path. Instantly, the entire Azura army stopped. The generals of the army quickly gathered around, wanting to protect the Azura King. But when they saw that it was these four Azuras who were blocking the way, their expressions calmed down. An even more subtle expression appeared on the faces of the generals. Gu Qingshan looked down at the four people below him as he recalled his memories. These were the kings of the four Azura tribes, second only to the Azura King. King Balaji, King Balachien Tua, King Vemakaitra, King Rahu. What happened to you? Gu Qingshan asked. You lost to the Devil King of Hell, shaming the entire Azura tribe. You no longer have the right to lead us, King Rahu replied. The Azura tribe needs a new king, King Vemakaitra spoke. That's right, we want to challenge you now, King Balachien Tua spoke. Gu Qingshan looked at the only Azura who didn't say anything and asked, King Balaji, what do you say? King Balaji replied, You deserve to die. An unprecedented sense of anger welled up in Gu Qingshan's mind. His body was about to stand up on its own. This was the Azura tribe's warlike instinct. Gu Qingshan even recalled an Azura secret art that he could perform with this Azura King's body. This secret art would allow him to instantly regain his strength, but at the cost of his lifespan. As long as his body recovers, Gu Qingshan was confident that he would be able to kill these four challengers. Gu Qingshan did everything he could to suppress his anger. Up ahead was Saint City. According to his memory, the Devil King was actually on good terms with the Azura tribe. They were the kind of people who didn't get to know each other through fighting, eventually becoming close friends. The Devil King even taught the Azura King several powerful secret arts in private. And now, the Azura King was going to Saint City to meet up with the Devil King. Gu Qingshan took a deep breath and quickly sorted through all the clues. I accept your challenge, he said. The four kings were glad. Azura were warlike creatures, especially in front of all their tribesmen. How could a king not accept a challenge? But Gu Qingshan continued. Let's go, we'll head to Saint City first. We'll begin after I've recovered from my wounds. The four kings exchanged glances and didn't move out of the way. According to the Azura tribe's rules, the four of us are qualified to challenge you at any time, Balachien Tua King said. That's right, we want to win against you here and now, Vemakaitra King replied. At this point, Gu Qingshan had completely suppressed his emotions. He had a strange expression on his face. Do you know that I've fought against the Devil King? What? Don't tell us that your wounds are so severe that you can't even fight anymore, Balaji King coldly smirked. Gu Qingshan scratched his head, then suddenly thought of something. He raised his hand and swore. With heaven and earth as my witness, my wounds are extremely severe. They've definitely affected my ability to fight. If I've said anything wrong, I request the Heaven Realm's lightning to kill me immediately, an invisible gust of wind drifted around him. Heaven and earth resonated. This was a vow. This was the Azura King's vow, and it was made in front of all the Azuras in the Heaven realm. As long as there was even the slightest bit of falsehood in his words, he would immediately lose his life. Everyone went silent. They waited for a while, but nothing happened. The lightning didn't descend. Gu Qingshan shrugged at everyone. As you can see, there wasn't a single bit of falsehood in this king's words. All the Azuras silently nodded. A challenge to the Azura throne was a sacred and solemn thing to do. Their king was clearly in a heavily wounded state, so challenging him in such a state wouldn't prove the new king's bravery. Such a challenge wouldn't be recognized by all the Azuras. The four kings' expressions all changed. The other party didn't accept the challenge. This was unprecedented. But you lost to the Devil King. I will no longer recognize you as our king, Vemakitra King declared. That's right. You're no longer the king, just step down. The other three kings all agreed. Gu Qingshan smiled. He picked up the Azura King's scepter next to him and said, I can give this to you, but there can only be one Azura King. The four kings exchanged glances, a bit hesitant. Gu Qingshan continued, How about we choose a new king right now? I also agree with this. Come on, our clansmen are all here. Let's see who's the strongest. He stretched out his hand and threw the king's cane out. The Azura King's scepter stabbed right in front of the four kings. This scepter represented the supreme authority of the Azura realm. Vemakitra King stared closely at the scepter and spoke in a low voice. I want to be the king. The three of you stand down. You? With that level of fighting ability of yours? How laughable. Ora Qiantua King scoffed. I'm here and you still want to fight for the throne? Ora Ji King casually said. Vemakitra King angrily shouted. Very well, since our tribe is here, I'll show everyone who's stronger. Luoho King suddenly spoke. Stop! Don't fall for his trap, he continued. The Azura King wishes for us to kill each other. The four kings turned to look at the Azura King. Gu Qingshan smirked. The scepter is right there. You don't even have the courage to pick it up and you dare call yourselves the Azura Kings? He stood up and spoke to everyone. I remember when I became the king, I won against 79 challengers. The Azuras became rowdy. This was the truth. Every Azura remembered it well. It was a thrilling battle for the throne. Who can tell me, has the Azura race ever had a king who didn't dare to fight? Gu Qingshan loudly asked again. No! Never. If you don't dare to fight, how can you be a king? The Azuras all shouted. For the past hundreds and thousands of years, the Azura throne has always been won through blood and fire. Has this ever changed? Gu Qingshan asked again. No. All the Azuras answered at once. Gu Qingshan sat down on the elephant. He looked down at Luoho King and casually spoke. If you don't dare to fight, then withdraw from the fight for the throne. Luoho King was speechless. Everything the other party said was the truth. This was an open and above-board plot. He had no reason to attack the other party, because the other party had already given up on the throne. If he doesn't want to fight for the throne at this point and instead holds onto an abdicated person, he will be despised by all Azuras. Thinking that, Luoho King was furious. He was still an Azura. Very well, I'll take the throne first, then I'll deal with you. Luoho King spoke with a gloomy expression. Gu Qingshan smiled and gestured for Luoho King to pay attention to his surroundings. Luoho King turned around. The other three kings were looking at him with fighting spirit. Gu Qingshan's voice came from the elephant. Chapter 470. Gu Qingshan sat on top of the elephant, bored out of his mind. The battle between the four Azura kings below didn't draw his attention at all. He had all of the Azura kings' battle memories. From Gu Qingshan's current point of view, compared to the Azura king, these four kings were still a bit lacking. Perhaps it was because they were fighting in front of all the Azuras, So the battle was bloody and intense. The four kings were giving it their all. It wouldn't be long before the victor was decided. How troublesome, Gu Qingshan muttered in a low voice. The six paths great mountain sword suddenly appeared next to him. Shanu's voice came. Gongzi, do you know how to fight later? I do, but your body might not be able to hold on. I'll try my best. How about? I do it, Gu Qingshan was immediately captivated by this. In front of the elephant, after all the battles were over, the three competitors were lying on the ground, unmoving. One was dead, one was heavily injured, and one was unconscious. The only one who was still standing was Rahuang. And the one who won in the end was him. Gu Qingshan scowled. Rahuang was covered in blood, barely using his blade to support his body. He took a few steps forward, wanting to take the Azura King's scepter. The Azuras of Rahu tribe were ready to cheer. Gu Qingshan waved her hand. The Azura King's scepter flew back to the elephant. What do you mean by this? Rahuang asked in a low voice. Gu Qingshan put the Azura King's scepter on the elephant's back. He cracked his neck a bit. According to our tribe's rules, you must receive the scepter from me, then come down and give it to me. Rahuang shouted. Gu Qingshan smiled. The six paths great mountain sword appeared from the void of space, being held by him. He slowly stood up. Come up and take it, he lightly said. I'm heavily injured, Rahuang shouted. That's right, the same as me, Gu Qingshan agreed. Rahuang went silent. He glared at Gu Qingshan. Never would he have thought that the four of them had planned to force the heavily injured man to give up his position. In the end, how did it become like this? All the Azuras remained silent. Yes, Luo Ho King was seriously injured. But the Azura King was also heavily injured. This could be proved by the oath of heaven and earth. Up until now, all battles were still fair. If you don't dare to come up and take it, I will keep the king's cane, Gu Qingshan said. King Luoho gritted his teeth. According to the information he received, the other party's injuries were much more serious than his. If that was the case, it wasn't a gamble. King Luoho made his decision. The Scepter King will welcome its new master today. He leapt up high and flew towards the back of the elephant. With a wave of the scimitar, a sharp light burst out. Gu Qingshan looked at the blade light, but did not move. The six paths great mountain sword suddenly left his hand. The long sword met the scimitar. Lu Ho-Wang's expression tightened. The saber radiance instantly separated and slashed 36 times. The sword didn't back down at all, turning into a blurred image as it returned 36 slashes. Wind slash style. This was Gu Qingshan's signature sword style. In Gu Qingshan's eyes, she could see Shanu wielding the six paths great mountain sword, clashing against Luo Ho-Wang. But in the eyes of others, they could only see the sword slashing through the air, not Shanu's figure. Such swordsmanship is only SOSO, Luo Ho-Wang coldly laughed. He suddenly changed his attack. A raging flame rose from the long saber. With this change of attack, Luo Ho-Wang's movements stopped for a bit. Shanu's eyes became sharp. The six paths great mountain sword turned into a large crescent white sword phantom that slashed through the air. Secret art, crescent slash, Luo Ho-Wang's expression changed and hurriedly swung his blade to block. But halfway through, the sword phantom completely dissipated and turned back into a swift stab. Luo Ho-Wang hurriedly changed his attack. Ki. The blade and the sword clashed. He managed to block it in the end. But another sword phantom pierced through his heart from behind. The second secret art. Swallow returns. This was an assassination secret art. Shanu used Gu Qingshan's signature assassination secret art. Lu Ho-Wang opened his eyes wide, looking at the sword in his chest in disbelief. What kind of sword technique is this? He muttered in disbelief. From the void of space, a cold female voice resounded in his ears. Luo Ho-Wang was the only one who could hear this voice. The sword technique that will kill you. Hearing that, Luo Ho-Wang opened his eyes wide. He pointed at Gu Qingshan, wanting to say something. But his life had already left his body. Luoho Wang fell to the ground, completely dead. The Six Paths Great Mountain sword flew back into Gu Qingshan's hand. Gu Qingshan looked at the sword. The long and narrow body of the sword was as bright as autumn water. Chills were exuding from the sword. This was an invincible sword, a sword that could cut through all laws, a sword that was sentient. Gu Qingshan couldn't help but recall what happened just now. You mean you can face the enemy by yourself? Gu Qingshan asked. That's right, but it's different from how other sword spirits fight on their own, Shanna replied. In truth, without a sword cultivator's sword style, a normal flying sword wouldn't be able to face an enemy. Unless it was a flying sword with an artifact spirit, then the sword spirit could simply control the sword and perform some basic slashes and stabs. Before, in the dark tunnel, the earth sword had already fought against the demons in the tunnel by itself. And now, Shanna said that her own way of fighting was different from other sword spirits. How is it different? Gu Qingshan couldn't help but ask. I need your help. Isn't it just me controlling the sword? Isn't that the same as me facing the enemy? No, it's actually me facing the enemy. As long as you and I are in sync, we can do it. Are you willing? I'm willing, but how do I do it? Release your divine sense, and let your sea of consciousness connect with mine. Gu Qingshan did as she was told. The Six Paths Great Mountain sword flew into his thought sea. This was the difference between a sword cultivator and a sword saint. A sword saint could put their sword away into their thought sea. To become a sword saint again, Gu Qingshan had even completed this quest. To put the Chao Yin sword into his thought sea. This time, it was the Huang Quan sword that entered his thought sea. Inside his thought sea, the Six Paths Great Mountain sword turned into a streak of light and disappeared, then quickly reformed. HM? Gu Qingshan scowled. A few lines of notification quickly scrolled past the war god UI. You've allowed the Six Paths Great Mountain sword to connect to your thought sea. The Six Paths Great Mountain sword has obtained all of your combat skills and experience. A notification. You've discovered the Six Paths Great Mountain sword's third thaumaturgy. Living's wisdom, a living's wisdom. With your permission, Shanna will obtain all of your skills and experience. Wield the Six Paths Great Mountain sword to fight for you, or fight alongside you. Description: when Shanna uses this thaumaturgy, she can choose to hide or show herself. A system notification. Shanna's power comes from the divine mountain of the Six Paths. The stronger you are, the more power she can unleash. Then, shouldn't an ant like you be able to quickly become stronger? Gu Qingshan blankly stared at these notifications. Unknowingly, the Six Paths Great Mountain sword had flown out from his thought sea, silently hovering next to him. Gongzi, I'll fight for you next. What do you think? Gu Qingshan finally regained his senses. Shanu, Gongzi? Chapter 471. Gu Qingshan sat on the back of the elephant. The Six Paths Great Mountain sword returned to his side. He put the sword away and raised the Azura King scepter. All the Azuras looked at him with eager eyes. Quite a few Azuras couldn't help but kneel down and cheer. The four kings were lying on the ground, either dead or alive. The four of them issued a challenge, but couldn't win against the heavily wounded king. The king had once again proven his strength. Who else wants to challenge me? The Azura King asked. All the Azuras went silent without making a single sound. Absolute silence. Gu Qingshan waited for a while longer before nodding. Very well, he casually tossed the Azura King's scepter onto the elephant's back. Everyone, head to Saint City, yes? The Azuras loudly replied. The army moved again. This time, no one came out to stop them. The army quickly moved forward. All of a sudden, all the Azuras disappeared without a trace. The elephant and the Azura King's scepter also disappeared. Gu Qingshan found himself sitting in an empty space. The Azura King appeared in front of him. The Azura king lowered his head and remained silent for a long time. Then, can I leave now? Gu Qingshan tried asking. Why did you decide to give up your throne? The Azura king asked. The enemy is strong while I'm weak, only by taking a step back will I have room to maneuver, but you went back on your word, you didn't give up your throne, they're all dead, and no one else wants to challenge me, what else can I do? I can only continue to be the king, Gu Qingshan replied. Hearing that, the Azura king suddenly smiled. It's my fault, it's all my fault, saying so, his body slowly floated up. The void of space around him shifted and surrounded the Azura king, forming a card. This card floated in front of Gu Qingshan. On the card, the Azura king wielded the king's scepter, sitting on top of a white elephant. The surroundings were filled with Azuras clad in battle armor. Under the Azura king's command, they were moving forward. A few lines of text appeared at the bottom of the card. The most powerful warrior in the Azura world, one of the leaders of the Four Realms' allied forces, and a close friend of the Devil King. Because of the death battle with the four clan leaders, I exhausted all of my strength. In the final battle, I did not rush to the Holy City to help the Ghost King. Since then, I could never forgive myself. I would rather turn into a card and wait for 10,000 years. Azura King, the Vengeance Dex spell card. When this card is activated, the Oath of the Four Realms from 10,000 years ago will once again exert its binding power. The Oath of the Four Realms. The heavenly gods, wraiths, Azuras, and beast kings must mutually support one another and never betray one another. Every leader of the Four Realms has made such an oath. When Gu Qingshan finished reading the words on the card, the Azura king looked at him from the card. You did better than me. If only I could be as calm as you back then, Azura king sighed. Let's go, I'll take you to the next dream. Thank you. Gu Qingshan took the tile. The empty space instantly shattered into countless tiny particles, completely disappearing. Gu Qingshan found himself in a completely new environment. A peaceful light that filled every corner of the world. A solemn and dignified building made from pure white brick. This was a spacious, brightly lit lobby. Quite a few people were standing around the center of the lobby. Beast kings, Azuras, wraiths, as well as a few people wearing robes of various colors. They were all demis. They were all staring at the center of the lobby, staring at Gu Qingshan, right next to him. Why can't I move? Is there something next to me? Gu Qingshan felt a bit strange. While he was thinking, a female voice came from next to him. That's why, I only want to conduct a few unique experiments in hell. I won't infringe on your interests, so please don't target me again. Since Gu Qingshan couldn't turn around, he released his inner sight to check around him. Only to see a young girl wearing a pair of thick, black-framed glasses, holding a book in her hand, standing next to him. The girl looked so fragile that she couldn't even stand up to a single gust of wind, but she had an indescribable presence that drew people's attention. She was the one who spoke just now. In front of her sat 3 beast kings. There was the beast king, the wraiths, and an old man wearing a luxurious red robe. Obviously, the beast king and wraiths were second in line, while the one leading them was the old man in red. When the girl finished speaking, everyone remained silent, no one said anything. Then that's that, we'll all live in harmony from now on, goodbye. The girl adjusted her glasses and stood up. She held the book in one hand while reaching for Gu Qingshan's hand with the other. Wait, what's going on? Gu Qingshan silently shouted in his mind. Right after that, Gu Qingshan felt a small, cold hand. I'm being held? Gu Qingshan hurriedly scanned himself with his inner sight. A completely black scepter with a horned skull embedded at the top, giving off a thick black mist. The Devil King Warden Rod. I'm the Devil King Warden Rod. No wonder this girl came to hold my hand. Could this girl be the Devil King of Hell? That's right, there's no other explanation. Only the Devil King can wield this scepter. Gu Qingshan was stunned. Even with his mental fortitude, he still couldn't regain his senses after discovering this shocking truth. The girl held his hand and prepared to leave. Wait! As soon as the girl turned around, the old man's voice came from behind. Is there something else? The girl asked. You said you're doing research in hell. I want to know, what exactly are you researching? The old man asked. Ah, so that's what you're worried about. The girl was obviously more interested in this question. I'm actually researching that thing behind the Grand Tai Wei Mountain. Behind the Grand Tai Wei Mountain? Who are you trying to fool? There's only the winds of chaotic tribulation there. The old man said. You call that thing the winds of chaotic tribulation? That's right, I'm researching it, the old man cautiously asked. It can destroy everything, why are you so interested in it? Outside of many worlds, there aren't such terrifying winds. I've only found scattered records of it in a few precious documents, the girl excitedly answered. Coming to your world this time, not only did I find a divine entity like the Grand Tai Wei Mountain, but I also found the winds of chaotic tribulation. This is an extremely rare and terrifying power, so of course I want to research it. The red-robed old man stared closely at the girl and spoke in a heavy tone. But have you ever thought about it? If you make a mistake and let the winds of chaotic tribulation enter the world of Huang Quan, all 6 worlds would be destroyed by that wind, and all of us here will die. We won't even have the chance to reincarnate, said the Demon King. Hearing that, the girl waved her hand dismissively. Don't worry, I've been doing research for so many years, and I've always followed a single principle. What principle? Safety above all. Saying so, as if feeling that her words weren't convincing enough, she flipped open her book and took out a card to show to everyone. The card had a giant eye on it. Hazy white mist rose and surged in the giant eye, forming a whirlpool that spun rapidly. Look, this is the rarest Predictor of Fate card. Whenever I'm doing research, I'll always keep it next to me. Before I make my next move, I'll always look at this card first. It can predict the consequences of each of my actions. The girl proudly smiled. In order to obtain this card, I had to go through a lot of hardship. She suddenly froze. The card in her hand was giving off a screen of black light. This was a bad sign. The girl quickly flipped the card over and showed it to herself. On the card, the white fog from the giant eye had completely dissipated. Corpse was lying inside the eye. Chapter 472. As soon as the girl drew the Predictor of Fate card, the red-robed old man made a gesture. He took a step forward and placed his hand on a certain pattern on the ground. A streak of light scattered from the pattern and quickly spread across the floor. Almost immediately, all the patterns on the floor were lit up by the light. It was now that the girl saw her own corpse on the card. The entire hall began to shake. The boiling light flowed like a waterfall, sweeping across the entire hall. The light converged at the center of the hall, forming a faint figure. It was a figure of light with a pair of wings. Just by standing there, the figure of light gave off immense power, causing everyone here to feel a sense of fear. Ancestor, take their lives and activate the divine skill, hurry! The red-robed old man hurriedly said. The silhouette of light nodded and lightly breathed out. Instantly, the entire hall was filled with intense wind. Heavenly God! What are you doing? You're trying to deal with us? Damn it, you've betrayed the covenant. Treacherous bastard! The leaders of the four-realm allied army roared in anger and shock. They didn't even have time to raise their hands before their flesh and blood began to dissipate. Very quickly, the leaders of the allied army turned into skeletons of various shapes and sizes, collapsing to the ground. The girl threw out 2 cards, which turned into 2 streaks of light, one red and one blue, that combined to form a large shield in front of her. The violent winds collided with the shield, producing a dense series of small impact sounds. It sounded like a violent collision between metals. The only people left alive in the hall were the red-robed old man and the girl. The girl appeared surprised and said, "So it's a real divinity, but it seems like it can only move within this hall as long as I leave this place." She quickly drew another card. At this point, the figure of light had absorbed enough power. It suddenly scattered into sprites of light. All the sprites of light froze in the air. The girl held a card in her hand, about to throw it out at the very next moment. The girl's eyes were wide open, seemingly in a state of panic and disbelief. She abruptly stopped. Her expression, her movements, her voice, everything had stopped. Everything in the hall came to a standstill. Only the red-robed old man could still move. The red-robed old man wiped the sweat off his forehead and sighed. He quickly walked in front of the girl and stared at the card in her hand. The card was so close to falling out of the girl's hand. That was really dangerous. Fortunately, we succeeded. A look of lingering fear appeared on the red-robed elder's face. He kicked the girl to the ground and took out a slender battle axe. Perfect, the troubles of the 4 worlds have all been resolved. I should be the ruler of these 6 worlds, not a spoiler like you. He raised his battle axe and chopped down on the girl's fair neck. Just as the girl's head was about to be separated from her body, a loud noise was heard. Clang! A sword appeared a finger's distance above the girl's neck. It was a long, narrow, and cold sword. The moment the sword appeared, it blocked the red-robed old man's battle axe. This is impossible! The red-robed old man cried out involuntarily. In the next moment, the red-robed old man waved his battle axe. However, a surging sword gleam suddenly erupted from the long sword. These sword rays were like torrents flowing across the heavenly realm, blasting all the buildings and everything in front of them into ashes. The vast sword radiance flew rapidly. The red-robed old man disappeared without a trace. The entire building was reduced to ashes in front of this sword. Secret art, torrent, it came from Gu Qing-shan. Shanna used it. After a while, everything returned to normal. The Devil King girl stood up, but didn't look at the 6 Paths Great Mountain Sword. She looked at the Devil King Warden Rod with a strange expression on her face. It was as if she was looking at something she couldn't believe. After 10,000 years, there's finally a sliver of hope, the girl muttered and couldn't help but wipe her tears. A card flew out from the card book and landed in her hand. She put the card on the Devil King Warden Rod and muttered, "Release restraints." Immediately, the scenery, including the girl, disappeared without a trace. Gu Qing-shan finally regained her freedom of movement. The Devil King Warden Rod flew out from his body and silently floated in the air. Invisible ripples appeared in the air. These ripples surrounded the Devil King Warden Rod and slowly manifested as the frame of a card. The card with the Devil King Warden Rod on it was still floating in the air. The 6 Paths Great Mountain Sword returned to Gu Qing-shan's side. Shanu appeared and cautiously looked around. What happened just now? That old man seemed to have used some sort of sacrificial secret technique to activate something extraordinary. I don't know what happened after that, Gu Qing-shan asked. The true god used a divine skill. Time stop, Shanna replied. Time stop? That's right, the true god extracted a split second of time from the flow of the river of time. Inside the hall, all living beings that were caught in that split second were unable to move forward or backward, only able to maintain their original state, and then? I thought about the reason we came here, so I couldn't help but save the Devil King. If it's a time stop, why can you still move? Gongzi, you've forgotten, all laws can't affect me. Gu Qing-shan recalled and remembered that Shanu really did have the thaumaturgy law break. If that's the case, nothing would be able to restrain Shanu. So a law break is actually this powerful. It's a good thing you were here, otherwise I don't know who could have broken through that situation just now, Gu Qing-shan sighed. Time stop. A law-level divine skill like this, and it was performed so suddenly, there's basically no way to counter it. Shanu smiled. It's Gongzi's swordsmanship that's outstanding, every strike is powerful, otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to do this by myself. Gu Qing-shan was a bit interested and asked, which swordsmanship do you like? Shanna hesitantly answered, I like 7 Stars Flowing Dragon. but I'm afraid that I won't be able to use it well. What's there to be afraid of? You have all of my skills and experience, you can try it next time, Gu Qingshan told him. He looked up at the Devil King Warden rod hovering in the sky. Let's not talk about that, I'll take it down first. He leapt up to grab the rod. Shanu stood on the ground without looking at him. She seemed to be thinking about something. The usual coldness on her face was nowhere to be seen, replaced by an expression of eagerness and eagerness. Shanu muttered in a low voice, 7 swords turning into a dragon, riding a dragon to fly. I really want to see what that feels like in the air. Gu Qingshan was holding the Devil King Warden rod card in his hand. As soon as the card was in his hand, the scenery around him slowly faded away. Gu Qingshan's vision blurred. A few moments later, he found himself still sitting in the bar. The black-robed man was facing him, still holding the large-scale war card. Gu Qingshan pulled his hand back from the war card. How long has it been? He asked. 3 seconds, the black-robed man answered. When did this war start? 10,000 years ago. Hearing that, Gu Qingshan took a deep breath. I think I passed, he said. Indeed, you've obtained the right to use the Devil King Warden rod. She also allowed that, she? The Devil King that you speak of, who exactly is she? The black-robed man thought for a bit, then spoke. Since you've passed the test, you're qualified to know our names. She's called Soft Note. I'm Haze. The black-robed man called Haze spoke. How do I say this? Soft Note likes to study the unknown, so she came to your samsara world. Originally, she and I would contact each other every once in a while, but one day, I received 3 SOS cards from her. SOS cards? The Great Ghost General, the Azura King and the Devil King Warden rod. Chapter 473. The black-robed man called Haze sighed. Soft Note simply didn't think that the other party would have a true divinity's shadow, that's why she ended up like this. 10,000 years. You should have already saved her, Gu Qingshan replied. I didn't succeed. Haze's expression was sorrowful. Soft Note had set up the corresponding problems for these 3 SOS cards. Why did she do that? She believed that only by solving these problems would there be a chance of saving her. Gu Qingshan thought for a bit, then said, It's been 10,000 years, you should have solved these 3 cards by now. Even if I did, it would be useless, why not? Aren't you a card user? It's a long story, I'm all ears. Fine, Lon explained seriously. Your world is a very rare world of the 6 paths of samsara. Among all the world structures, the samsara world is the most unique. It's in the midst of a chaotic tribulation, but it's also very stable. The 6 worlds form a complete closed-loop world chain, with the strongest natural world barrier and the protection of the divine mountain. How will this affect your ability to save her? As soon as an outsider like myself appears in the heaven realm, the demis will immediately sense my presence. They will use Soft Note's soul to threaten me to do things for them. While Soft Note won't be saved, you can't deal with them. I can't even be sure what the outcome would be in a direct battle against the demis. Not to mention they have Soft Note's soul. Her soul is still intact? That's right, they don't dare to do anything to her soul, because if they do, Soft Note will definitely die together with them. What do you mean? A powerful card user might already be very powerful when they were alive, but what's even more powerful is that after they die, they can sacrifice their soul to create a unique order. The heavenly gods are afraid of that, so they can only seal her away. The stalemate has never been broken, the black-robed man sighed. I've already simulated every situation over 1,000,000 times, but I still can't think of a suitable way to solve this problem. Gu Qingshan smiled and said, I'm sorry, but there are a lot of things I don't understand. I don't even know what demis are. Demis are the descendants of divinities. A long time ago, all the gods either died or disappeared. Only their descendants survive. These divine descendants are professionals from birth, and when they reach adulthood, they will automatically awaken a divine skill. In addition, the divine descendants also have a large number of divine artifacts and wealth left behind for them by the ancient god. Sounds like it won't be easy to deal with. Yes, they are very strong. Even a card user like Soft Note was accidentally hit by the true god skill left behind by the ancient gods. Time stanch. Gu Qing asked. So for the past 10,000 years, the ones in control of Huang Quan have always been demis. The one who controls the heavenly realm is also a descendant of gods? Yes. Gu Qing sighed. The demis are so powerful, trying to rescue a soul from their hands is truly difficult. Yes, all I can do every day is wait for the prophecy card to leak some information to me. Hayes sighed bitterly. Let me guess. What do you want me to do? Gu Qing asked. The black-robed man smiled. He personally opened a bottle of liquor and poured Gu Qing a full glass. The demis are very wary of outsiders, but they treat the living beings of the samsara with extreme disdain. Soft Note's soul was sealed in the heaven realm by them. Only an insider like you can save her. According to your description of the demis, I'm not strong enough at all, Gu Qing replied. The black-robed man replied. You don't need to do anything specifically, I'm only informing you beforehand to let you know about this matter. What do you mean? I have a prophecy card that can solve the mystery. 9,500 years ago, it told me that it wasn't until today that Soft Note would have a chance to be saved. He took out all of his cards and placed them on the table. A total of 54 cards. The backs of these cards all had the same pattern and background. A holy light surrounded an angel. The angel was closing his eyes in a praying manner. A deck of cards is created according to the wishes of a card user. My own deck of cards is a bit unique, so I can't disassemble it and reassemble it, so I could only split my soul and use my second soul to reconstruct this new deck of cards. Sounds like a lot of hard work. I started doing this 9,000 years ago, slowly reconstructing the deck of cards over a long period of time. The black-robed man pointed at the cards and said, This deck of cards is called Soft Note Salvation. Looking at the 54 angel cards, Gu Qing couldn't help but ask, These cards, are they all used to save her? That's right, 36 salvation cards, 16 battle cards, 1 prophecy card, and 1 space-time positioning card, splitting my soul. Gu Qing mused. The pain seems to be unbearable, and it will continue to affect my main soul. That's right, for the past 9,000 years, I've been enduring the pain of my soul being wounded every single day. Hayes's eyes appeared determined. But I have to save her no matter what. Gu Qing thought for a bit and raised her glass. Splitting your soul and waiting for 10,000 years, I'm quite impressed, he said. Seeing that, Hayes also raised his glass. The two of them clinked glasses. I'll tell you my request. I need to become the Devil King to save the human realm, Gu Qing said. I agree with that. Furthermore, after leaving this secret room, you can do whatever you want. Then what's your rescue plan? The heaven realm has many powerful laws of thaumaturgy, so I need to remain hidden for now until that small chance appears. In other words, I only need to do what I need to do, Gu Qing said. That's right, the prophecy has shown that you will bring me that small chance. I'll be waiting here for that moment to come. You can find me whenever you want. Hayes took out 3 cards from his chest and carefully placed them on the table. The Great Ghost General, the Azura King, and the Devil King Warden Rod. The Great Ghost General is willing to fight. The Azura King carries the oath of the allied army from before. As for the Devil King Warden Rod, its weapon spirit is already dead. Soft Note has turned its control imprint into a card. Take all 3 of these SOS cards. The first 2 cards will wait for their own opportunity. And the Devil King Warden Rod card is your reward. Hayes lightly tapped the Devil King Warden Rod card. The card turned into sprites of light and entered Gu Qing body. I've already given you your reward in advance. From now on, the Devil King Warden Rod is yours. I'm very pleased with this reward, Gu Qing nodded. Alright, I've already erased the memories of the other losers of this competition, so you'll need to fight against them to hide our meeting. Very well, that's it. Gu Qing tilted his head back and finished his drink. Thank you for the drink, he said. You're welcome, good luck, Hayes replied. I'll give it a try, I hope both of us will be lucky. Chapter 474. Gu Qing-shan left the bar. The bar's door closed behind him. The entire bar turned into a giant card and slowly faded away. Gu Qing-shan found himself back on the deck of the ship and opened his eyes. At the same time, the 18 cards disappeared. The other 17 combatants of Hell opened their eyes at the same time. What the hell, using such a strange method to explain a simple rule of the tournament? That's right. Maybe it's because the Devil King Warden Rod made a mistake, they all complained loudly. However, everyone secretly tightened their grip on their weapons. The information on the cards explained the rules of the Devil King tournament. Falling off the ship means forfeiting, dying means being eliminated. The last person standing on the ship will be the winner. He will receive the Devil King Warden Rod. At this point, everyone only had 10 breaths worth of time to prepare. The 18 combatants casually glanced at each other. Giants, humans, fiend-kind, beast kings, asuras, as well as strange-looking chaotic creatures. Their facial features and bodies were grotesquely shaped. In their era, there was no light from the sky, darkness obscured everything. All chaotic creatures relied on their sense of touch to touch each other. No one could see each other. Because of that, they didn't really care about their appearances. Above the heads of the powerful dead, the Devil King Warden Rod floated in the air, waiting for its master. The 18 Devil Kings of Hell will be chosen from the 18 dead. The Devil King will wield the rod and command the entire Hell. The divinities of Huang Quan are no longer here, so the Devil King will be the new ruler of Huang Quan. Everyone was ready for battle, and no one was in a relaxed state. The combatants all tacitly put some distance between each other. At some point, the 18 dead's expressions changed. The Devil King Warden Rod gave the order. The battle began. Seems like we can begin now, one of the combatants said. He looked at the 7 leaders with ill intentions and spoke. 10-7, do you understand what this number means? Another combatant replied. Ahahaha, this means that beating you up will be as easy as stepping on a bug, so why don't you jump off the ship yourselves, at least it'll be less painful. Don't let them escape, kill them all, then we'll slowly choose ourselves. The female fiendkind shouted. The top 10 experts laughed heartily. The 7 commanders stood together, solemnly raising their weapons. Gu Qing-shan retreated and joined them. Right now it's 8 to 10 inch. The female Azura puffed out her chest. The female devil cultivator stared at Gu Qing-shan and gritted her teeth. Brat, I remember every single word you said to me before. You don't need to remember me like that, Gu Qing-shan said. Why? You know fear now? The female devil cultivator said with interest. No, because you're going to die. Suddenly, the female devil cultivator disappeared from the top 10 rankers and appeared in the middle of the 7 commanders. Wah! Before he finished, the female devil cultivator was still confused, but the 7th commander had already moved. The 7 weapons unleashed their full power, slashing and piercing the female devil cultivator's body. The female devil cultivator died immediately. The female Azura swung her blade and cut off her head, proudly saying, I said I'll kill you however I want you to. The other side. Gu Qing-shan appeared among the remaining 9 experts. Layers upon layers of black sword images bloomed, manifesting around his body. A second later, Gu Qing-shan swung his sword. All the sword images disappeared without a trace. He cancelled, drawing. What's the matter? Shanna quickly asked. I suddenly feel like I'm overreacting a bit. Gu Qing-shan held the 6 paths great mountain sword horizontally and tilted his head in thought. The Azura King's life's worth of battle experience had fused with his own fighting skills. Both his knowledge and skills were no longer the same as they were before. Die, brat. The remaining 9 experts finally reacted. Several attacks carried sharp gusts of wind as they flew towards him. The sword struck. 9 swords flashed and disappeared. Ki. The sound of 9 weapons clashing resounded at almost the same time. Although the strength of each clash was different, the 9 experts all took a step back at the same time, their movements perfectly synchronized. Gu Qingshan slightly lowered his body, hiding his sword behind his back. His entire body was in a running stance. The path of the sword is... After muttering half a sentence, he abruptly disappeared. An intense gust of wind blew on the ship. A chilly wind. A wind that no one could hide from. Gu Qingshan's figure appeared in the wind. He casually swung his sword. He seemed to have run into some sort of problem as his eyebrows were tightly knitted together. After getting used to using 2 swords, I'm a bit unaccustomed to suddenly returning to using only 1 sword, he said. Shanu smiled. I don't see why you're unaccustomed to it at all. There were no other movements around them. The 9 experts were completely silent, their bodies frozen in place. A few moments later, their heads all fell to the deck of the ship and rolled a few times. Thud! 9 heavy bodies collapsed on the ship. The entire deck of the ship was slowly dyed red. The 9 experts of hell were all killed by Gu Qingshan and sent back to their respective hells. In the past few eras there had been 4 civilizations, but in the clash of civilizations, none of them could compare to the cultivation civilization. Gu Qingshan was an ascended realm late-stage cultivator. Even in the cultivation world, this level of cultivation would make him the strongest cultivator below the Saint realm. He was a sword cultivator who specialized in killing and risking his life, not to mention he had all of the Azura King's battle experience. He was the one and only sword saint. Fiend-kind, giants, human combatants, chaotic creatures, none of them could win against a single sword of his. Even the Azura and Beast Kings were nothing more than a single strike from him. Shanna was a bit doubtful and said, "There's nothing wrong with your sword techniques, but I feel like you're in a bit of a rush." Gu Qingshan sighed. My body is still in the human realm, there will most likely be some enemies who will try to deal with my body, that's why I need to hurry up. As he spoke, his expression suddenly changed. The 7 leaders on the other side clapped their hands to greet him. I didn't think there would be someone like you among the humans. The human old man smiled and said, "There's nothing to say. Let's get off the ship," the giant slowly said. One by one, they walked past Gu Qingshan and jumped off the ship. The female Azura stopped next to him. "What's the matter?" Gu Qingshan asked. "The water is too cold." The female Azura looked at him and muttered. "You're an Azura, why would you be afraid of water?" Gu Qingshan smiled. The female Azura opened her mouth and licked her upper lip with her tongue. "I don't care, you'll have to make it up to me later," she said. "I'm sorry, I already have a girl I like," Gu Qingshan said. "Is that so? How regretful, then can we have a spar later?" "That's fine," the female Azura nodded, satisfyingly walked to the front of the ship and jumped down. Only Gu Qingshan was left on the ship. The Devil King Warden Rod landed and silently floated in front of Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan hesitated and asked, "Why isn't it talking?" Shanu answered, "In the age of old, its weapon spirit was killed by divinity, so right now it's only following the laws that the Devil King set up for it, choosing a Devil King to rule the entire hell. That is its law." Gu Qingshan relaxed a bit. He took the Devil King Warden Rod. Lines of notification popped up on the War God UI. "You've obtained one of the 3 divine armaments of hell, the Devil King Warden Rod. You've become the owner of the Devil King Warden Rod. You've become the Devil King of Hell." You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.